What's up, everybody? Demon back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today is another Kong Skull Island, I guess, sort of review or just basically a discussion. Today I'm joined with...
Hello, people of the internet. This is Andres Perez, aka Kaiju Noir, aspiring film critic, Japanese-based English teacher, and all-around awesome guy. At least I like to think that I am.
I agree.
Although that could be just like the narcissist in me, you know.
Alright, so if you guys remember him, me and him have actually done a Shin Godzilla review a while ago. So, and also you may be subscribed to his channel too. If you're not, there's a link in the description. Definitely go check it out, subscribe. It's great stuff. So today we're going to be talking about Kong Skull Island. You want to start out with some spoiler-free thoughts?
Okay, so I think overall I really dug the hell out of Skull Island. For those of you who have not seen my review, the review I already did on my channel with kaiju thriller author Matthew Denian, or on Zazabar's channel on the Sons of Serizawa podcast, I thoroughly enjoyed Kong Skull Island. I thought it was a fun romp, a lot of action, a lot of likable characters, a lot of amazing set pieces, and it really feels overall that the filmmakers really learned it felt like they took a lot of the criticisms of Godzilla 2014 to heart, and they did their best to improve upon that film by creating something that is, I want to say it's almost superior to Godzilla 2014 in almost every aspect. So if you haven't seen it already, please do it now. You won't regret it.
Oh, I definitely agree. I think this movie is just... It is so much fun. I've seen it 5 times in theaters, 6 times in total. It's so... I love this movie. I cannot recommend it enough. It's just super entertaining. Like, that is as simple as that. It just succeeds at being a movie, which movies are meant to entertain, and this definitely does not fall short in that aspect at all, I don't think.
Yeah, and that's one of the aspects I love about Kong Skull Island, where it's a movie that knows exactly what it is, and where it's not trying to be anything deeper or something more bigger than what it is. It's just a big, fun, escapist, giant monster film, and it wears that proudly on its shoulder, like a badge of honor.
I don't think we get enough of that nowadays. Like, we had Pacific Rim a couple years ago. I think that's about it. I don't think we really have had just one of these... Like you said,
how about something like the Avengers?
Well, see, those ones are, but I don't think we necessarily get monster movies like that nowadays.
Okay.
Because I feel like with monster movies nowadays, they either want to be like Shin Godzilla, where they're going to be really much deeper than this kind of movie, or they're going to be horror movies. And I think this one just wants to be a fun movie, and it definitely succeeds at that. I don't think we get that now as much, especially like 2014 too. That's not necessarily a fun movie, I wouldn't say. That one tries to be more on the serious horror-ish side, as opposed to just this kind of crazy action adventure.
And I think when it comes to giant monsters in modern day cinema, most of the time I've noticed that they would try to really shove them into a movie where they are not the main focus of the film, and they are given very little personality to work with. The 2 biggest examples that come to mind are the Kraken from the remake of Clash of the Titans, and Goldar from the recent Power Rangers movies, where they are simply there to serve as some big threat for the hero to eventually overcome. And unlike those films, what we have here with both Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island is that we have these monsters that are are treated more like characters as opposed to just simply set pieces. Even much more so than the Transformers films, ironically, where the Transformers are technically supposed to have more character, to them than the monsters we have enjoyed so far on in the Monsterverse. And I think that's where this where Legendary has succeeded so much, where it gets you to care and feel invested in these monsters and giving them a personality to latch onto.
Totally. I think Kong definitely has a lot more personality, I think, than Godzilla did in his movie, for sure.
Yeah, I think Kong has always been one of the most sympathetic monsters in cinema, and especially since the original Kong, all the way back in '33, was played up as a tragedy, and I even you can tell it just like comparing and contrasting the death sequences between the original Kong and the original Godzilla. You're obviously supposed to feel more sympathy for Kong than you would feel for Godzilla. With Godzilla, your sympathy is mostly going towards Dr. Serizawa by the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Godzilla is not sympathetic in that movie at all.
Right, right. I mean, there is one moment where he bursts out of the water, he screams, and before he sinks to his death, to his doom. But yeah, you are totally right about that.
I guess just like spoiler free, really liked it. Go check it out. It's kind of hard to talk about this movie without getting into spoilers because mostly everything you need to know is in the trailers. Like mostly if you watch the trailers and you look at the trailers and you say I don't like this, you probably won't like the movie. But if you look at the trailers and you say this is great, you're going to like the movie. So, I feel like spoiler free, you can't really spend that much time on it, which is why I feel like
here's the best non-spoiler review. This is a movie where people go to an island, shit goes down, monsters beat each other up, the end.
Exactly. That's pretty much it.
If that doesn't sound entertaining to you, then get the fuck out. This is GTFO.
So I guess let's get into spoilers. So I wanted to start out, same thing we did last time, because once again, being in America and Japan and having very different experiences, how were our experiences going to the movie for the first time, or at least watching the movie for the first time? Because I know you didn't go to the movie to see it for your first time. So
right.
You started out last time because you saw Shin Godzilla before us Americans. So I'll start out this time with how I saw this movie, because I also still technically saw this movie before everyone else, because one thing that I thought was really, really cool, and one reason that this movie will always stand out, probably for all times, as the most special movie I ever got to see, was because I was going through my emails one day, and my quote-unquote business email, the one for my YouTube channel, there just happened to be a link in there, and it was just... I didn't quite know what it was, but I clicked it and it just said, like, you have been invited to attend a special pre-screening of Kong Skull Island. So I clicked it and it was just my tickets. And so basically I got to go see the movie about 10 days before the rest of everyone else, before it premiered in America. It was so incredible. It was just, man, I would have, first of all, I'd never think I'd get to see a movie like this early. And second of all, just the fact that they reached out to me and were like, here you go. It was just so incredible. I had so much fun.
So in other words, you think you're better than the rest of us, huh?
No. There's a lot of people there.
Admit it.
No.
You're probably doing a little victory dance. It's like, yeah, I'm going, not you. It's like Cartman. He's like, I'm going to have this amusement park, and you can't go. Nya, 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 nya.
No, I mean,
there was a little part of you that was gloating, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely didn't stop me from posting all over Instagram about it. Yeah, I got to go to the movie. I had to wait in line though. Me and my dad, we waited in line for 4 hours in order to get good seats. So that was, 4-hour line wait is not going to be like the most fun thing in the world, but we watched Kong 76 on the way, like in the line. But we got to go into the movie. They had this, I guess you could call him a celebrity. I'd never heard of him in my life. His name was Chris Parente. Apparently he's like a talk show host, but they had him come out and he introduced the movie and he was like, I got to see this movie earlier. You're going to love this. So... And
then he was gloating in front of you.
Yeah, he was gloating in front of all of us. So then just a big, huge crowd of people. Pretty much, you could tell everyone who was there it was like when I saw Shin Godzilla in America, because it was such a limited release, only only like hardcore fans or like my parents, which I had to drag along, like only people who wanted to be there were there. So it was just one of those really cool, like really big audience experiences where everyone has a great time. I just had so much fun.
Well, yeah, it definitely sounds like that way. And joking aside, I'm really happy that you were able to see the movies that early.
Yeah, I hope to get that kind of opportunity again in 2019 with the upcoming Godzilla movie. But how does that compare to your first time watching it?
Absolutely boring. The thing is, I quickly learned last year when it comes to watching a movie with a Japanese audience, is that they are so respectful when it comes to like the viewing experiences. They won't react to anything that is being portrayed on screen. If it's a drama or if it's an action movie or if it's a comedy, they will not react whatsoever. And it gets really problematic because, especially when I was watching last year, when I was watching something like Civil War or Deadpool last year on screen, those are movies that have lines of dialogue that are made to make you, the audience, laugh. And so when I watch those movies, I like to laugh. I like to, feel invested. I like to feel invested in their jokes and their humor and their action and drama. I mean, that's, kind of what audience participation is all about. Yet when I go to a Japanese movie theater, I'm the only one, unless I'm going with friends, I'm the only one that's laughing at their jokes out loud. So I'm always like self-conscious as to whether or not I'm bothering the people around me when I chuckle or laugh or I'm in awe, or I vocally react to something on screen, which that's what the movies want you to do.
Do you seriously have to see Deadpool with a Japanese audience? I feel like that would have been the worst.
No, I actually saw that with my with my fellow foreigner friends and our Japanese friends who are more outgoing and more free thinking, I guess you could say, like us foreigners,
okay,
which
so
is why they hang out with us in the first place.
Yeah, I feel like watching Deadpool with one of those audiences would have been the worst thing. Like,
yeah, it's like, laugh, you idiots, laugh.
Man.
That's what the movie wants you to do.
Which is also funny because with Shin Godzilla, before the movie came out, they released, or at least before it came out in America, one of these YouTube channels released, I think it may have been Toho or someone. They put out like an audience reaction from Japan. And it took me a while. I figured out that they actually had to get people, they had to encourage them and like give them incentive to react to the movie and to laugh and to cheer along with it, which is super weird. I feel like in an American audience, they just show up and they just sit down with the camera and they would not, like, I just find that pretty funny that if they have to be like, please laugh, like, don't just sit there.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Come on, what are you waiting for? It's right here. Come on, do it now. But when I was watching Kong Skull Island, of course, there are many lines of dialogue that are meant to be taken humorously.
Kong, what's wrong with you? How you even got an appetite right now?
Eating's for the living.
We just got taken down by a monkey the size of a building.
That was an unconventional encounter.
Is that really all your brain telling itself right now?
You are going to tell me everything I don't know, or I'm going to blow your head off.
Monsters exist.
No shit.
He's with the down sea stallion just west of here.
West? We can't go west. That's where those skull things live. We have an old saying here, east is best, west is worst. That's why we say it. Southwest, we can talk about that, but you're going to need a lot more guns if you're going to go west.
And I think what I've noticed with Japanese comedy and American comedy is that American comedy is much more subtle, and you're able to sneak in a joke here and there, like in the middle of a scene that you're supposed to take seriously for the most part. I mean, you would have John C. Reilly talking about big fucking ants.
Ants, big ones. There's one.
Sounds like a bird, but it's a fucking ant.
And so just hearing that alone and just hearing, John C. Reilly doing his, his shtick, that's supposed to elicit a response. And so every now and then when I hear a little line like that, I go, huh, or, ha. I would react to that as, one would, at least someone who finds someone like John C. Reilly entertaining. Or even then, it's any other character, Sam Jackson, John Goodman, when he said like there will never be another period like this in American history ever.
Mark my words, there'll never be a more screwed up time in Washington.
Oh yeah.
Maybe 2020, hindsight, you kind of laugh at that, and of course nobody reacts. Or there are moments in the movie where you see these awesome set pieces happening, and you want to cheer, you want to applaud, you want to go fuck yeah. Again, I can't do that when no one is around. And when it comes to the end credit sequence, I've seen videos online of people reacting hysterically to the end credits, post credit sequence of Kong Skull Island. And when without going into spoilers, when I saw those things, the post-credit scene take place on the big screen, my heart was pounding. I felt like a little child again. I wanted to, applaud so badly, but no one reacted. And it sucks not wanting to, burst out in joy and having that fuck yeah moment. The Japanese took away my fuck yeah moment. But I know it's that's simply the Japanese way. They're super respectful to a capital T, and them being very traditionalists. They're the kind of people who like to keep their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. They like to keep that shit in under control. They don't want to bother anyone. They're not confrontational at all in the slightest. It's just a small part of a bigger thing when it comes to the Japanese mentality. And of course, there's the whole collectivist mentality of the Japanese. They all society kind of pressures them to act the same, think the same, behave the same. So of course everyone is going to judge you if you're different. Me being a foreigner, I'm not affected by any of that. So I may sound like an arrogant American here, and I probably am. But those were my honest thoughts of my viewing experience at Kong Skull Island.
I'm glad that you mentioned the comedy, because at least it makes it clear that I wasn't the only one who found it funny. Because when we saw the pre-screening, I feel like my audience, they freaking loved the action and they were cheering so much. But when it came to the comedy, I felt like there was one or two jokes that people laughed at, and other than that, it was just me kind of doing exactly what you just described, where I'd start to laugh, and then I'd notice that no one else was, and then I'd have to kind of look around and be like, oh man, was that funny or not, or is that just me?
What's wrong with me? Am I supposed to do I find stuff funny that I shouldn't find funny?
I didn't get it. I didn't know. I do now.
It's not my fault. It's just the way my brain is programmed. My brain is broken.
So, quick question. How many times have you seen this movie?
I've seen this movie twice. Once in the theater and once through other methods.
You saw it with a lot of people?
Yes. I went to the cinema by myself. However, I was really surprised at how many people went to see Skull Island. There were roughly anywhere between 40 to 50 people in the theater room that I was in, and it was really surprising for me because I went to the cinema I went to the 8:10 showing, and when it comes to Japanese cinemas, 8:10 is usually 8 o'clock. Around 8 o'clock is usually the latest time they will show movies, because unlike in America where most people go to the movies at night, the Japanese, they go to the movie theaters in the afternoon. And so the afternoons are the mornings and afternoons are the more expensive when their ticket prices are at their most expensive, whereas at night that's like the nighttime showings are the equivalent of our matinee prices. So instead of paying $18 for a regular ticket, you would only pay $11 for a late night ticket, quote unquote late night, because it's only 8 o'clock.
That sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, so again, so despite the fact that not many people despite the fact that not many people go to the not many Japanese people go to the theaters at night, and to still see the room almost full was surprising. And B, it was a Wednesday night, and most Japanese people, they go during the weekend. So to see that many people on a Wednesday night on the second week of Kong's release in Japan, that made me very happy. And even though I said that the Japanese people didn't react at all to the post-credit sequence, I did overhear them talking about the post-credit sequence after the lights turned on and everyone started walking out.
Well, I mean, it's good that you got a lot of people that went, because other than the pre-screening, every time I've been to the theater, it's been empty other than me. I've literally been the only one in the theater 3 times, and I've seen the movie 5. One time I saw it with my little brother, but we saw it. It was a Saturday, and it was a Saturday right after lunch, so right after 12 o'clock ish. So of course there were a lot of people there. But every other time I've seen it, I've seen it at night, I've seen it early morning, I've seen it. Every other time I've seen it, I've been completely alone, and it's super confusing because the movie is doing pretty well box office wise.
Oh yeah, it's recently passed like the $500 million mark.
Oh yeah, it just did a couple days ago, but no one is at my theaters, and I don't understand why. Maybe there's just not a lot of excitement for it in my area, but I always just find that super confusing because I like the movie. I'm surprised not a lot of other people seem to where I am.
Maybe people are stupid over there. Maybe they don't like giant monsters, and if they don't like giant monsters, maybe they suck. Who knows?
No, they definitely suck here. I hate them.
Nuke the site from orbit.
Well,
all joking aside,
first, and then I'm okay with it. All right, so
yes.
I want to break this down in 2 sections: what worked and what didn't work. Starting with what worked. So I'll go through my list and I'll give a topic, and then I want to hear what your thoughts on it are, because obviously I like all this stuff. So I'm going to start out with characters. Which characters I thought were good in the movie. My number 1 favorite character is Hank Marlowe, John C. Reilly. I friggin' love him. He is so great in this movie. I think he's pretty funny. A lot of people didn't seem to like his comedy, like I said, but I think he was pretty funny. And other than that, I thought he was like an actual good, complex character, which I don't know. A lot of people didn't like the characters of this movie, so I'm interested to hear what you think.
I too think that John C. Reilly's character as Hank Marlowe was indeed the best aspect of the movie. Oh, yeah. I think that he had carried a lot of the film's heart, and I feel like he gets a lot of sympathy. I really like that they introduced him right off the bat, and how even though we never see him and his Japanese and wartime enemy turned friend, I forgot what was his name. The name of his friend.
Gunpei Akari.
Oh yeah, Gunpei. For some reason, I feel like Gunpei Akari. I feel like that name has to be some kind of reference to something. But oh well.
It's a reference to. I wish I remembered which one it was, but it's some sort of anime. It's a reference to where one of the characters is named Gunpei Akari, or it's named Akari.
Because I've heard the name Gunpei somewhere before. Yeah. Although maybe I'm confusing it with something that's completely unrelated.
No, the name is definitely it's definitely a reference. The director has mentioned it before. Vogue Roberts has mentioned.
Okay, so I really like that even though we never see Hank and Gunpei interact with each other as friends, the way John C. Reilly gives his performances, you believe that these 2 individuals were indeed like brothers, despite never seeing any of that on screen. And that goes to show that John C. Reilly can play a rather complex character, or at least complex by the standards of this movie.
Tell me Step Brothers isn't a complex character.
Well, that is debatable, my friend.
Oh man, I wish there was a line in here at some point when Slivko or whatever, Slivko, that red bandana dude. I wish there was like a point when they were inside the native camp and there was like a makeshift drum set, and he touched it, and John C. Reilly's like, "Did you touch my drum set?" Oh, that would have been amazing.
Or what was one line from Step Brother? The thing is with Step Brothers is that I feel like it's a huge guilty pleasure for me, where it's like it's an absolutely stupid movie,
It's hilarious.
but it's so stupid, but I can't help it.
5 minutes ago. It's great.
I think there's something wrong with us. What was it like this? Like, this sucks dick on the planet bullshit.
Oh, that would have worked.
If he said that, like he's being attacked by Kong and he just screams that out loud.
When the Skullcrawler jumps out at them all.
Yeah. Someone should like take the like when the movie eventually comes out on DVD, they should like take like a DVD rip and just put like Step Brothers dialogue all over that. It'll be the most horrific thing ever, and everyone will lose their shit. It'll be like when that one video on YouTube where someone took the one character from Team Fortress 2 and they just put his dialogue over Shin Godzilla when he was using his atomic breath.
Do you see that one of Tom Cruise from The Mummy, his scream, and they replaced it with Shin Godzilla, and then they did it backwards, so it's Shin Godzilla's scream of Tom Cruise?
Oh no, you gotta show me that.
That video's hilarious.
Oh yeah, but anyways, I thoroughly enjoyed John C. Reilly. He was the best ass character in the movie, in my opinion, and the only other characters that come close to him would be John Goodman as Randa and Sam Jackson as Packard.
Oh, there's some disagreements with us. We'll get there. Going back to what you were saying earlier before we got off on sidetracked about Marlowe and Gunpei's relationship. One thing that I really liked about it was, although you didn't ever see it on screen, if you like looked in the background, the set design on this movie, the set design is so good, because if you like look in the background, especially on the Gray Fox, that boat that they built together. And wherever they live.
I wonder if that Gray Fox was meant to be a Metal Gear a Metal Gear homage.
No, I have no idea. Is Vogue Roberts doing a Metal Gear movie or something like that?
I have no idea on it, to be honest. I just know Gray Fox as a character from the video games.
I'll definitely look into that, because I could have sworn I read something about that not that long ago, about him and Metal Gear. But yeah, like wherever they stay at that nighttime sequence, also inside of that whatever boat they're in, like if you look in the background, there's a lot of like little details. You can see them counting years.
Oh yeah.
And then you see there's a Japanese flag right next to an American flag. There's a whole bunch of like little details in the background of this one scene that just really gives you an idea that these two really had a good bond whenever, because I don't know if they ever necessarily say how long ago Gunpei died, but you really get a sense that while he was alive, the two of them had a really good bond, especially like when John C. Reilly's there at his grave with the katana. I just think they did a really good job. It's one of the best aspects of the movie that we never got to see, was just their relationship, and I would love to see it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know, the director has been interested in making like a spin-off of John C. Reilly's character. So imagine if they make I would imagine imagine it James Conrad, Skull Island.
Yeah, I think he said it was going to be like, he said he wanted to do the midquel of in between when they crash on the island, and then when like Conrad and everyone meets up with Marlowe again. I think he said he definitely said he wanted to do that, tell that story, and I'm all for that. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I doubt anyone would be interested in it, but you could do something with it, like maybe make it a DVD bonus feature as a short film, or make a comic book spin-off out of that.
I think it could work as a comic, yeah.
Definitely.
If it's done better than Godzilla Awakening, it could work.
Yeah, definitely. Just make sure there aren't any prehistoric sailboats in that.
Yeah, that. I hope that book's not canon. So.
If it is, it certainly raises a lot of questions about this continuity.
Yeah, it does.
Which was already questionable to begin with even in 2014 alone, with Serizawa's age and whatnot.
Yeah, how old is he supposed to be? He's like 70 or something like that, if that book's correct.
He's a teenager in the 80s, and so like add 30 years.
Wasn't he born?
Right, that's weird. Yeah, he's a teen. He looks like a young adult in the 80s, yet he was apparently born in 45. Who apparently a baby survived the middle of Hiroshima.
and then if you read the novelization, it like specifically says in the 90s, whatever year was in the 90s, was 99 or whatever, he's in his early 40s.
Oh,
so I don't know. I don't think.
And then when he mentions that the movie implies that his father died in Hiroshima, but that's clearly not the case. Yeah, but like you just listen.
If he is supposed to be in his 40s in the 90s, so he'd only be in his like 50s now. How does that make any sense that his dad died?
That doesn't matter now.
I guess
you can make a video all about it.
Make a video questioning
his age, and then come up with a theory, and then everyone will get upset about that theory.
Yeah.
Same old routine.
Yeah, that's pretty much my channel right there. Talk about something, get people upset. Talk about the opposite topic.
No, here's the new theory. There are two Serizawas. That's why he's so young.
Exactly it. That is exactly it.
Hashtag two Serizawas confirmed. Put like make a clickbaity thumbnail. Put a red circle, a red arrow.
Every time, the only two videos that have gotten me three. The two of the three videos that have gotten so controversial on this channel have to do with the possibility of two living Godzillas in either the Shin Godzilla universe or the Legendary universe. Everyone hates me for it, or
personally,
they love me. I don't know.
Personally, I disagree with you, but I'm just gonna step back and let you do your thing.
No, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me how he could be up and fighting Ghidorah and then at the same time.
Here's my explanation. Okay, bad writing.
That's
my explanation. That's my explanation.
That's the thing that I hate.
That's my explanation for everything, because it's the most goddamn logical one.
I know it's the most logical one, but I hate
there we go.
End of discussion. So much. I hate it. I love when it makes sense.
Everything needs to make sense.
Like me and my brother, we love the Friday the 13th series, but he cannot watch the movies with me because I will go off on like a side rant every time we watch a new movie about how, all right, well, this doesn't match up continuity wise, which technically
oh my god, why is the mask look different in this movie?
No, it's not like that. The mask is actually pretty good. No, I always get mad. I'm always pointing out how like, well, at the end of this movie, Jason looked like this or did this or whatever, but then the next movie picks up, he's doing this or whatever. And
here's the theory. Here's the theory. There are two Jasons.
There's at least three or four. There's at least three or four. My brother hates watching those movies with me.
He's like, God damn it, D man.
I know. He's
like, I don't know why I'm referring to you, my own brother, by his YouTube name.
You refer to him as his YouTube name? I don't think, now that I think about it, I don't think anyone well, that's not true. I was going to say, I don't think anyone actually refers to me as that, but then there are kids at school who don't know they know me from my channel, so that's what they call me.
Oh, that is interesting.
It's not fun.
Oh.
Think about it. If one of your students was like, knew you from your channel before you started teaching.
Oh, that'd be freaky.
Exactly, and I'm in class with like four of these kids, one class with four of these guys. It's very, and I know they're not going to hear this because they don't watch the long videos, but it's very
lazy.
It's very weird. Anyways, back to Skull Island, I guess. So, my second favorite character, this one, a lot of people disagree with me on this one, is Cole. The best way to describe him, the grenade guy.
Okay.
I love this character.
I thought he was okay. I thought he served his part decently enough. He was certainly memorable, and I did like his interactions with the character Glenn Mills, played by Jason Mitchell of Straight Outta Compton fame. Yeah. I did like the what would you call it? The interactions between the two of them.
Yeah, I think that their dynamic is the best one of the movie. Like, other than obviously everything John C. Reilly does is the best stuff of the human stuff, but I think other than him, excluding him, these two, I think they have the best relationship in the movie. I love watching. I think these two, and I think the actors have great chemistry. I think they do a really good job.
Okay, and I did like how that one character you bring up, how he's the only one who truly follows everything that Packard says.
Yeah.
And it feels like he comes from a similar backstory as Packard, where he's someone who doesn't really have anything to look forward to when going back home. And they kind of imply that, yeah, and they kind of imply that he might be homeless, or he might not actually have a home to return to.
Yeah.
And so he's the kind of person who kind of makes the most out of his situation as a soldier.
Yeah, I think, and then his ending, the way. Although the only thing that I didn't like about the way he sacrifices himself is it kind of does come out of nowhere. Like when you watch it, he's totally on board.
It's almost like they. Yeah. It's almost like they build him up as like a side villain, or it's just like Packard's lackey or henchman, and yeah, that whole twist that whole like character turn at the end is kind of. All of a sudden we're supposed to feel like super sympathetic, even though we've kind of been laughing at him or kind of felt negative towards him through most of the movie.
Well, to be honest, I didn't. I really liked him. Like you said though, whenever he's like blindly following Packard is the only time that I watch it and I'm like, But then I think him and Mills, they do a really good job humanizing one another, and so I think it would have been better. Here's what I would have done. I would have had the Skullcrawler like directly go for Mills or whatever, because you see the two of them have like a really great friendship, and I would have had as a way to save him. That's when Cole gives his life. He pulls the grenades or whatever. I think that would work a lot better than just having everyone be like, all right, we're gonna go to this, we're gonna go find the boat, and then him being like, actually, I'm just gonna stay back and die instead. So. Have a nice time with that. Like I feel like it would be better if he did it, like because his friend was in danger, instead of like, well, you might wind up in danger if the boat doesn't come, so I'll just die.
Yeah, I guess they could have handled it they could have handled his death a little better in that sense.
Also, I thought his death was so tragic though, because he's the only one who dies trying to help other people. Like, if you watch the movie, no one really dies trying to help anyone else other than him, and he fails at it because the Skullcrawler just smacks him away.
Yeah. It does suck, and that is one rather surprising way of getting you to like instantly have a lot of sympathy for a character you may not have had, in my case, not have had at all for most of the movie.
Yeah, I didn't the first time I watched it. It was when he died when I finally was like, oh, I like this character. And then every other time I've watched it, I've liked him more and more.
Okay.
And then next character that I like is also really controversial because a lot of people hate him for some reason. James Conrad, which is Tom Hiddleston's character. I thought he was great.
Again, I'm very indifferent to him. I like him because it's Tom Hiddleston. But if it wasn't for Tom Hiddleston, then he probably would have been a much more blander character. Because I'll let you go as to why you like him, so that I can later come out and say why you're wrong.
Okay.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
All right. That's definitely gonna happen here in a minute with the things that I didn't like. So Conrad, the thing that I thought was he was kind of underutilized is because I felt like he had a lot of action and not a lot of character, because there are really great moments of character with him. You have that part when him and Weaver are talking about the lighter that he carries, which is his dad's. His dad was in the Air Force, went off to fight the Nazis, and was never seen again. And then way later on in the movie, almost like an hour later, like 30 minutes later, John C. Reilly and another character, Slivko, are having a conversation. And Slivko's talking about how he's like, John C. Reilly's family, Marlowe's family, thinks he's dead for sure. And then one thing that I really love is Conrad's the one who says, like, you'd be surprised how long people wait, which kind of shows, like, all this time that you can imagine, he just spent trying to find his dad, which also explains why he became a tracker, which is because he wanted to find people who went missing. So I think there's a lot of subtle stuff they do with him, and I'm sure the novelizations, which are always typically more in-depth with their characters, is going to give him a lot more personality. I still haven't gotten it yet. I want to, but I can't find it. I don't know. I thought he was good. but underutilized because although he
Yeah,
does
I feel that way also.
he does all the action stuff, which is somewhat realistic. I mean, that whole katana thing, although it looks awesome, doesn't make any sense because then you see those first-person views and it's like super cut off. He shouldn't have seen where he was going, but I don't know. I think he did his job in the movie. I liked him.
Yeah, he did the best. Tom Hiddleston definitely did the best with the material he was given, and I did like that aspect where it is a very basic movie with rather basic characters, and so I liked how this movie went out of its way to get a lot of really talented and experienced actors, so that what the script lacked in depth, the actors can make up for that with their natural charisma and on-screen chemistry with each other.
Yeah.
And as for Tom Hiddleston, I do agree that I do like the subtle hints at his backstory that kind of help characterize him and try to flesh him out. But I guess my main complaint is that with him, and this also goes to Brie Larson's character Mason Weaver, is that it seemed like at the very beginning when the characters are introduced themselves to each other, it seemed like they're trying to go for some form of character arc with these two. However, we never really see that happen. Again, they kind of remain static for the most part from beginning to end. And so I guess the movie is trying to use those two characters as individuals that we can latch on to because they are the most... I guess they're the characters that the audiences are supposed to identify with the most. But that wasn't really the case that wasn't really the case for me. Yeah. I ended up latching more towards the imperfect characters like that
fat dude who got eaten by Kong. That's why.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Totally, I totally relate to being eaten and eviscerated by giant monkeys. But anyways, but yeah, I was more invested in what was happening with Hank Marlowe, with Randa, with Packard, with Glenn Mills, and even Chapman. Even though they did a really super cliche thing with Chapman, where it's like, oh boy, I can't wait to see my son who's waiting for me back home. Oh, I sure hope nothing bad happens to me. Like, oh, you're not making it out alive here, buddy.
Did you call his death?
Yeah, totally. It's like screenwriting 101. If you tell someone, if you say that I can't wait for my wife, or I sure hope can't wait to see my family again,
but John C. Reilly,
that is the automatic death sentence for you.
But John C. Reilly has that moment where he's like, I just really want to see my family one more time.
Right. Yeah. But the thing is, but here, like the Chapman thing, that's the thing. Chapman is a red shirt, whereas John C. Reilly isn't, and so usually this usually applies to red shirt characters, not main characters. With main characters, they got a thing called plot armor, where nothing bad can happen to them because they're the main characters. But if you're a red shirt, if you so much as talk about wanting to see your family or your girlfriend or your dog or whatever, then you're gonna die.
Yeah, your dog. Like, did you ever see that movie Frozen, the horror movie? And you hate all the characters the whole time, and then there's just like the one throwaway line where they're like, we gotta get back to feed the dog, and then you're instantly supposed to love them. Oh, that movie's so bad.
Yeah. I'm only aware of the review that Your Movie Sucks made, but I have not actually seen any bit of that movie. But I'm trying to think of another example where that happened, and the only one that's coming to mind is from Independence Day, where Will Smith's friend and co-pilot, he mentioned something about he can't wait to see his girlfriend again, and then he ends up getting shot down by aliens. Another example I just remembered was the beginning of Expendables 2, where a dude says, oh, I can't wait to see my girlfriend again, and it's like, wait a minute, you're not a popular action movie star. Oh, we know what's going to happen to you. You're going to die. Yep,
that movie's literally called Expendables, so you shouldn't expect any non-dying. I'm surprised at that. I actually thought So before I saw the movie,
Yeah.
I put together like a death predictions.
Mm-hmm.
I never released it as a video for some reason, but I put it together.
Yeah.
He was one of 3 characters that I had making it out.
Uh-huh.
Chapman was. So, because here's the thing, is that all the advertisements, like, first of all, they released way too much before this movie, but second of all...
Yeah, we'll get into that when it comes to the skull crawlers.
Yeah. But they did a good job misleading you, because the clips they use, number one, they use the clip of everyone getting to the boneyard, and there's a really, like, it's a quick line from Packard, who says, "We got to get on the other side of this to find Jack," or he says, "We're not leaving Jack out there." And then they do one of the other sneak peeks that they released made it clear that one of them was missing. And then if you watch the trailers and you like frame by frame, which is what me and a lot of other people did, you'd notice that he was never on screen with anyone else. So I thought leading up to the movie, he was the objective, which is somewhat true. But I thought he was going to get separated from their landfall on Skull Island, and then the rest of the movie was going to be spent finding him and getting him off the island. I thought that was going to be what happened. And so when he died, I was completely taken off guard. And I shouldn't have been, because I knew it when I did a trailer breakdown. I knew it. I said... Because you saw the stick bug stand up and he was sitting on it, and then there was another brief second that showed the skullcrawler jumping out in the bamboo, and so I knew that the skullcrawler was going to be near him in the bamboo. But still, when I watched the movie, that I was not, in the let me think about my predictions mindset. So I was completely taken off guard. I totally thought that the movie was going to end with like him, Conrad, and then Packard making it off the island. I think those were like the 3 that I thought, and Weaver. I thought those 4 were going to make it off the island. So I was completely surprised, and also because I thought he was a really good character. I liked him.
I did so too. Even though his him being the soldier who I can't wait to see my family again. Even though it's really played out and very cliche, and you obviously know where it's going to go. I did like what they did with his character, where they turned his Dear Billy into like a running theme, especially when it comes to a reoccurring motif. Thank you very much. If you want to get all film critic-y, intellectual, an recurring theme that you can perceive throughout the majority of this film's runtime. I did like what the characters did with it. They would use the phrase "Dear Billy" as their way of helping them speak their minds out, and it's like somewhat of a humorous gag to them to help calm each other's nerves, or they use it to
all the way up until they realize that he's dead, and then they're like, "Oh, this kid that we've been making fun of the whole time."
Yeah, they feel I'm really guilty, but then it's really a nice touching send-off for the joke where it says, like, "Dear Billy, your father was a brave man," or "He was a great guy." Yeah. And, they agreed to take the journal with them for the rest of the journey.
Another thing that I always think of when I see that scene is know for a fact that kid's going to carry that around for the rest of his life. Like, that is going to be something that he always has. So I will not be surprised at all when in a future Monsterverse film we have a Monarch person who has that journal and his last name is Chapman, Billy Chapman. That will not surprise me at all, is if he's like, "Yeah, I know my dad got killed by freaking King Kong or because he doesn't know the Skullcrawler did, but he's like, I know my dad died on this island. I'm gonna..." Maybe that's what that new Return to Skull Island thing that's going to come out, that comic, is going to be about.
Who knows? But so far we haven't seen anything that big in terms of continuity, but then again, we're only 2 films deep. So who knows if we're going to see like a legacy character show up, like a character who would appear in both movies.
What was his name? Brooks. He's going to be our guaranteed, because he's the one who introduces... What's it called? That new comic coming out. It's called Skull Island Birth of Kong.
Skull Island Birth of Kong. Yeah.
He's the one who introduces it, saying we're gonna find out about Kong's past. And that comic, for those of you who don't know, it was just announced, I think today, as of us recording it. It takes place in modern day, of them returning to Skull Island and finding out about what happened before the movie Skull Island takes place. So, I think he's gonna be. He's the one who does the voiceover. Also, there was field recordings released before the movie came out. They were all done by him. Corey Hawkins is the actor who plays him. They were all done by Corey Hawkins. They were just him being like, "I'm on this island. It's pretty crazy." So I'm not going to be surprised when Mills is on, because he's also the Monarch guy in this movie. Other than Randa, he's the Monarch guy.
He becomes the Serizawa of this movie by the end of the movie. And I do like that, how Randa, he is like the teacher to Brooks's, Brooks is like the student and Randa's the mentor, and by the end Brooks kind of takes over Randa's position and becomes like the new guy who's in charge of the program, kind of like inspired or given. He was kind of inspired by Randa, and he kind of inherits that sort of passion in when it comes to studying these monsters and understanding the intensity of the situation at hand.
He's also the most scientific one of the group, because there's that scene when Packard's like, "We're gonna kill Kong," and then he's like, "You can't do that because that's gonna screw up everything in the ecosystem." I like that.
Yeah, it definitely shows that he
scientific view instead of like, "Oh, but I like him."
Oh yeah, which is the case with Weaver and Conrad. No, don't do it. He's kind. He's cute. He's an animal.
Literally, Hank Marlowe is the only one on the whole island who has any, other than the natives, who has any sort of like actual grounds to be like, no, this thing's a good guy. Like, Weaver saw Kong pick up a helicopter off a buffalo, and then she's like, "You know what? I'm sold." and then yeah. Conrad saw nothing. He's just like, if you say so, I guess I'll like this thing that killed all of the people that I came to this island with.
Yeah. And there, when you were talking about science characters, probably the worst character in this movie was Jing Tian as the character San Lin.
Yep,
and you probably have because she's so useless. I keep forgetting that she existed in the movie until she would pop out.
She was so hyped.
Pop up. She was?
Yeah, she was in, like, there were magazine articles being released all the time, like, Chinese actress Jing Tian or whatever. And it's like, but she, when I watched the movie, I was completely surprised. She doesn't do anything.
She does two. She does two things: jack and shit.
Exactly. She sits there next to Corey Hawkins when they're working on mapping the island. She's like, "Doesn't that look cool?"
And I'm thinking, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, and then at the end of the movie, she's the one who's like, "Should we leave? I don't know." And then he's literally says it seconds after, like, "I don't know if we should leave or not." She was so worthless.
She was, the only purpose she really had is just to give Brooks someone to talk to when he's abandoned by the rest of the team.
Exactly.
And like maybe it would have been cute if they made them like love interests or give them some kind of chemistry, considering that Brooks is the only character I don't know, because again, they give her so little to work with that she is just there. And the only reason, and it's obvious, I hate to do this, it may feel like racial profiling here, but it feels really obvious that they only put her in this movie to appeal to the Chinese market, because that has been an occurring trend a lot in film within the last 5 years. I want to say that films have been, shoving in extra Chinese, well-known Chinese actors, or straight up create entire subplots or plot points involving China in order to appeal to the Chinese demographic, so that their movies can make a lot more money in China, because a lot of Hollywood depends on China to get a lot of their revenue back, because it is a ridiculously huge country, and they certainly love our movies. Not so much Japan though, but China definitely.
Japan's doing pretty good with this movie.
Yeah, but truth be told, Japan is not as obsessed with movies. Nowhere near as obsessed with movies.
Either.
It's like movies. Movies aren't even like, they don't care about movies. They don't feel invested in movies. They don't collect movies. I mean, the fact that there are so few video stores in my city, yet there are a bunch of movie rental stores. They more so rent movies than they do.
So you guys still got Blockbusters kind of things over there?
We got Blockbuster things over here, yeah. And that's why it took me so long to find your Blu-ray of Shin Godzilla, because there are only like 2 stores in the entire city. That too, yeah, because one store is Tower Records, and they have everything. But in the other store, which is near my local mall, they have a fraction of what Tower Records has. Uh, oh yeah, and another thing when it comes to movies, I'm sorry to go on this tangent here, but yeah, not only do most Japanese people, they don't collect movies, they don't, they're not as invested with movies, and they do even have things like movie parties, like get-togethers, invite your friends and have a fun time watching movies. They don't really do that. In any case, if anyone were to go to the movie theater, it's simply as like a means to spend time with friends, not so much to see the movie. The movie itself.
We get that somewhat here in America.
That is true.
Like
that is true.
The only reason I've been to Skull Island, well, not the only reason, but one of the reasons I've been to Skull Island so many times is just to see it with different people.
Yeah.
Just hang out. That's the only reason I ever see Marvel movies in theaters more than once. Because my biggest problem with Marvel movies is I don't like to rewatch them. I think it loses a lot. But
interesting.
And a lot of people disagree with me on that one too. I'm in the minority on a lot.
It's like, how dare you?
But you're definitely not wrong about them putting Jean Tian in here just because she's Chinese. But it wasn't Legendary or Warner Brothers who did it. There was a third Chinese company who helped produce this movie. It also is the one who did a total role reversal of what we were just talking about with recently with The Great Wall with Legendary, where they were like a bunch of Chinese actors, white guy Matt Damon for no apparent reason in here just for the sake of it's going to help you Americans sell it.
Yeah.
Why is that not a Chinese movie? Like, no American that I have ever met in my life was like, I'm so hyped to see Matt Damon in The Great Wall. Like, I've never met anyone who liked that movie. I don't get. That should have been a Chinese movie for China. Like,
sorry, I just confused Mark Wahlberg with Matt Damon.
Mark Wahlberg.
Which is really stupid because I know there are a lot of people who have confused him in the past, and I'm like, "What? You're stupid!" And then I just did it myself.
Yeah. Well, I get actors mixed up all the time. It's just a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah, she was not needed. It's that Chinese company being like, "Hey guys, I know you're making this movie, but we're gonna..." And if you've noticed, they've also sort of started taking over Legendary, because a bunch of the new Legendary movies are co-produced by these guys now, which means they definitely got a good contract. And she is in a lot of them. Jing Tian's in. She was in The Great Wall. Supposedly she'll be in some of the other ones. Pacific Rim 2. Hopefully she has more to do, and I don't know. She wasn't great at speaking English, so I wasn't too terribly bummed that she wasn't in this movie a lot.
She was okay. She was fine. She's better than a lot of people I've come across in Japan. It's like that's my what's that?
Speaking English, you mean?
Yeah, that's speaking English. Yes.
You're telling me the chick who played Kyoko Ann Patterson did a worse job? No, she definitely did.
Oh yeah, okay. With her, she is below. Like I have like this I kind of like have like standards when it comes to English speaking, and I kind of use my and I kind of use my students as like a measuring. Like, are they like my upper level students, or are they like my lower level students, or are they somewhere in between? Jing Tian, she's definitely up there at the very top. Kyoko Ann Patterson at the very fucking bottom.
I was so happy that movie had subtitles.
Oh dear Lord.
Man.
Just U.S. Japan, so win-win.
The one line you could understand. The one line that you can understand was her being like that worthless, like, the only thing that you can get out of the line is her being like, "So I did not have time to change." It's like, thanks, that was needed.
Good job, Bono. Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Why didn't they just hire an American? Well, I guess we could say the same thing for Americans.
Oh, to appeal to the Japanese market, because they are, they want pretty Japanese girls in their movies.
Yeah, I guess you could say the same thing about Americans. Like, why hire a white chick for Ghost in the Shell just for the sake of Americans?
Because people like pretty white actresses in movies.
Exactly.
Well, I guess they don't really, because the movie bombed.
Yeah, I'm not. I had no plans to see it.
I had no interest either. So,
Rosette saw it.
ba-da-ba-ba-ba. And I guess did he like it? I don't know.
I
He
don't
tends
know
to like
either.
everything. He tends to like everything.
Yeah.
But
He's
anyways,
the only person I ever heard give a positive review of the RoboCop remake. I liked that.
I liked it, but I wasn't crazy about it.
I never watched it again.
Neither did I. But anyways, Kong Skull Island
Yeah, well,
being invaded by the Chinese.
yeah, I think we basically just blew through all of my good characters. So my good character list, and then like anyone who I don't have in here, like Slivko. I keep mentioning him because he has a lot to do, but I was so neutral on him. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, but mate, is
Yeah,
he the guy who
exactly.
Is he the guy that hangs out with Conrad and
Weaver.
Weaver?
He's got the red bandana.
Okay, him. He's
the one.
okay.
He's the one cracking jokes all the time.
All right, he's like, we're not going to talk about what just happened here.
That got annoying to me. They did that twice. You don't do that joke twice.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, he was serviceable. He was perfectly serviceable.
Yeah, I was so neutral on him because it was like he's a fine character. He does whatever. He was the only one who was like logically thought this out and then was like, you know what? I'm thinking I don't like Packard's suicide mission, but
Yeah.
then at the same time, I felt like most of the times he was making jokes. Or not most of the times, but some of the times he was making jokes, I was just like that scene where he's like, "Are we not going to talk about that?" I was like, "Oh, I don't like this guy." So he just kind of wound up as neutral for me. There's quite a bit of characters
Right.
like the scientists, who both die. I guess a lot of scientists die, but
Oh yeah,
the
it's this movie's like anti-science. They killed Randa. They
Yeah, they
killed
kill all the scientists
They
other
killed
than-
Mustache Guy. They
Yeah.
kill the other
guy
the other asshole-ish
who doesn't
guy
want to sit on the porch. That's the
Who-
only
with
thing
the-
I know
with
him
the-
as.
with the blue jackets. Yeah,
Both of them, yeah. Landsat,
Both of them were
is
blue
that what
jackets.
they work for? Landsat? I think so.
maybe. But yeah, they were killing scientists left and right, except for Brooks and San Lin.
Is it San? It's San, right?
I'm not sure because Chinese and Japanese, they're two whole different languages with very different pronunciation styles. It could be San Lin.
I know it's spelled, or I know they say it S-A-N, but definitely before the movie came out, IMDb had her listed as Sam, so I'm not sure.
Well, according to Wikipedia, it's San, S-A-N.
San?
San. I don't
think it's
know.
San. I think it's pronounced San. I don't know.
It's all Greek to me.
It's all a different language. I'm American.
I don't speak Asian. I don't speak Asianese.
So, yeah, the only other character on my good characters list is Mills, Jason Mitchell's, which we pretty much talked about him.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
Ooh,
he's the accomplice of Cole, so.
Yeah, and I did want to quickly go back to Chapman a bit because this was
he's
something
in
I
there.
found out just now. I found out just before recording when I was looking up Chapman's actor, Toby Kebbell. I didn't realize that he was actually the mocap actor for King Kong himself.
I knew for a fact Tori Nortre plays Kong in this movie. I know that for a fact. Terry
Yeah, but
Nortre
he
said his name wrong.
He was the stunt actor.
The interview with Toby Kebbell says that he does the facial movements for Kong. So I guess technically he's mocap.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
So technically he's mocap, but the only thing he does, he says he was a facial reference for Kong, which is weird because I thought Kong in a couple shots looked very similar to Tom Hiddleston. And I never got like the I guess you don't usually watch someone in motion capture and be like, "Oh, I can recognize that actor." Like Hulk you can, but that's intentional. But yeah, I was super confused on that because Tori Nortre has been talking about for a long time how fun it was to play Kong and how he got permission from Andy Serkis when they were working on Planet of the Apes. So
Apparently Toby Kebbell also played Koba from
he did.
Dawn.
Both the actors who play Kong in this movie, they both played apes in Dawn.
And when they co-starred with another dude who mocapped Kong.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's
That
pretty
is
cool.
that is crazy.
The only thing that would have made it better is if that suit actor from '76 was like one of the old apes in the background.
Oh, Rick Baker.
Is that who did it? I didn't know who did it.
I want to say it's Rick Baker, but I could be wrong. But anyways, I didn't realize that Chapman was a very experienced. The actor who played Chapman, Toby Kebbell, was a very experienced actor because I looked at his all of his filmography, and this dude has appeared in at least 2 films a year, going all the way back to 2000. At least for the last 10 years, he's been in 2 films a year, so he must be a very reliable actor to have been in many small parts here and there. And I didn't even realize that he was Doctor Doom in the 2015 Fan 4 Stick movie.
I never saw that. I was lucky enough not to see it. I
You
heard you
are
heard SOS review it, and then I decided it was not worth it.
You were certainly lucky, my friend, that you did not miss anything there. So I think the only character we haven't talked about is Sam Jackson as Packard.
I got a couple characters. He's included in my didn't work section, so I guess I'll get to him in a minute, and then you can tell me why I'm wrong there. But
okay, I'll be like Trump. I'll interrupt you every so often with wrong. Still my microphone. Wrong.
Wrong.
That is
wrong. And he did the wrong thing. Wrong.
That is absolutely
wrong.
Okay, so the only other character I had in my that I thought worked for me list, and this is like a very slightly, I did not think she worked very well, which was Mason Weaver, she's played by Brie Larson. She's one of the characters that I was really excited for going into the movie, because I was like, I'd been saying for months, it looks like a movie finally figured out how to do, because me and a lot of people feel this way, like even Grace Randolph, she's a popular YouTube reviewer, her channel's called Beyond the Trailers, even she has always complained about why do movies constantly get females wrong. And I'd been saying for months leading up to this movie, it finally looked like we finally got a good character, like a good female character that wasn't shoved down your throat to force you to think that they're a good female character. Like Ghostbusters, the remake, definitely took up that feminist angle, and I think when they overdo it, they wind up alienating some of their other audience, as what happened with that movie.
I guess it's a rather tricky situation, because you want to promote a positive message, but at the same time, it is possible for the message to overshadow the story, and so if you don't have that right balance, you'll just end up coming off as preachy and end up turning off a lot of your audience. It's a really messy,
which is
unpleasant situation. I understand. I appreciate the intention, but I've seen the execution get very controversial, to say the least, in all forms of media nowadays, because nowadays it's all about promoting feminism, diversity, and all these sorts of positive reinforcements, and I'm absolutely more power to you to promote that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
But then again, it's all about do it right. It's all about do it right.
All you got to do.
It's all about execution, and it helps not lambasting the opposition, because then it comes off as childish.
But
be the better man or woman.
Like for this movie, I was super excited. I was like, they're finally doing it right. We're not getting a damsel in distress. We're gonna get a really great female character that's gonna be like down and dirty, get everything done. And then they gave her so little to do. She does 2 things in the whole movie, and that both of them are somehow save everyone else from a skullcrawler. Which, the first time it makes sense, when she throws the lighter onto the pit and it explodes. There, I was like, all right, giving her something to do. Doesn't make sense how she got to that area, but she did, because Conrad had to wear a gas mask to get to that area, because it was covered in just generic labeled toxic gas. But she somehow manages to get there, no problem at all. And then the other thing, she shoots a flare and somehow hits the skullcrawler straight in the eye, which, first of all, when I watched that, I thought that was really cool, because you actually see like the skullcrawler gets genuinely pissed off when it explodes. But then I realized afterward, it completely, when the flare explodes, I didn't know flares exploded like that, but I guess these ones do. When it hits him and explodes, after that point, you see his eye socket is empty and all bloody. That is a great little detail. That was awesome. So I just feel like we should have had more for her to do. Maybe, because I know she was the photographer, but she didn't really do a lot of photo taking. She didn't even take a picture of Kong. I don't know. They should have done more with her, just like some of the other characters.
So with Tom Hiddleston?
Same with Tom Hiddleston. They should have done more with her.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I thought she did her part decently enough, and she also played the part of being like the female character who eventually has formed some form of connection with Kong, as is the tradition of the Kong. No, I said tradition. I meant to say tradition.
Okay.
As is the tradition of Kong, for Kong to have that sympathetic character moment with the woman, with a traditionally white blonde woman. That sounds a lot worse. I don't know, for whatever reason, if you say the word white, it immediately sounds wrong. I hate to. Doesn't it sound that way?
I think it sounds worse if you were to say black. I feel like that has, like, if you say that, like, you're immediately labeled as a racist. Whereas if you say white, I don't know. I feel like that's...
If you say black, you feel racist. If you say white, you feel like you're demonizing white people. I don't know. It's like, it sucks both ways. This is sound like a weird topsy-turvy world we live in when it comes to race.
Yeah, it is. Like,
when at the end of the day,
and then you got American Mexicans in Japan.
It's crazy. It's just not the way God intended.
Yeah.
It's I hate to keep getting off tangent, and talking about other things in the world.
Fine. I don't think anyone cares.
But yeah, it's a really topsy-turvy world we live in, where race is such a key thing that people focus on so much, when at the end of the day, I feel like people like you and I, we just want to watch good movies.
Exactly.
Like, I don't care if you're black, white, brown, orange, black, purple, blue.
Painted
I just
yellow,
want good.
Like that, like the natives.
Those weird colors, that in-betweens that nobody can ever remember. Turquoise, fuchsia, I don't know. I just wanted good movies in the end. But anyways,
Exactly.
As someone who was playing a character who has traditionally been of Caucasian descent, I thought she did the part well and held up that tradition decently enough.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought, I don't think it matters who Kong had a connection with, and it wasn't like strictly he had a connection with Weaver. It was mostly he had a connection with her, but he also didn't like go out of his way to attack Conrad or anyone like that.
No.
I don't know. I just wish she had a little bit more to do. Maybe she had a couple more hero moments, or maybe a little bit less sarcastic remarks and a little bit more I don't know, because you notice, I feel like a lot of the things she says are pretty sarcastic to people. Like she's always second guesses stuff.
And she kind of comes off as antagonistic towards several characters.
But I don't know. I just wish she had a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, and again, I may be in the minority. I don't know about this one. For the most part, people freaking love Kong, and I agree. But I've seen the people that don't like Kong's character in this movie, they don't like Kong's character in this movie. Like, they are straight against Kong in this movie.
I don't really see what's there to hate with Kong, because to me, Kong is Kong.
He's great.
He's great. He's wonderful.
Terry Nortray, who, like we talked about earlier, did the majority of the motion capture for this movie, said the only direction he was given in order to play Kong was, "You're an angsty teen." This was from an interview. He said, he was told, "You're an angsty teen who is pissed off at the world because he watched both his parents die." And when you watch the movie knowing that, it totally comes across.
So Kong is Batman.
Kong is Batman.
My parents are dead.
He's literally Batman from BVS, where he's okay with killing, and he'll do it just for the sake of doing it.
Now it makes those like fan comics parodying the BBS fight, where it's like Batman and Godzilla and Kong. Godzilla says, "Save Mothra," and Kong is like, "How do you know that name?"
That's awesome. I love that one. There's so many of those.
Yeah.
I think that's I love Kong in this movie. Like, what's not to like about him? He's just like a bigger version of what we had in the past. He doesn't. I I don't think there's any moment in this movie where Kong really establishes himself as, like, powerful as the Kong from '05 when he took on 3 V-Rexes at once. I don't think we ever get that kind of moment in this movie where you're like, wow, he can do anything. He does some cool stuff. He fights 2 baby skull crawlers at once, and then
he fights the son of Odaku.
He fights the son of Odaku. He steps on his head. That's another awesome moment. That's gotta be. There's two really great character moments with Kong. The first one is that when he saves like that giant water bison or water buffalo. Oh, I guess that's a third really great moment with him. Like,
I mean, he goes out of his way to save a little animal.
But like, I think there's 3, including that now, 3 really great character moments with Kong. Number 1, that scene, if you pay attention when he shows up to the water, he's picking at his bullet wounds, obviously. We see him
I love that scene. I love
that too, because it totally parallels Jack in the water, who is cleaning his wounds.
Yeah.
And then Kong walks over and he's picking at his, and then Kong gets a drink of water the same way Jack just took a drink of water from that. That's great. And
or then, like he even looks at his hand that has full of helicopter blade scars. Yeah.
And then, but he like stares at his reflection in the water before he gets the drink. I think that is great, and it's super subtle. Like, they don't like, Jack's not sitting there. It's not a movie where they have to tell the audience what's happening. Like, there's no moment when Jack like looks at the camera and he's like, by the way, if you didn't pick up on that, he was reflecting on what just happened by staring into his own reflection. No, he just does it, and then he gets the drink of water. It's great. And then he I love when he slurps up he slurps up that squid's tentacles in his mouth.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great humanization. The next great moment, I guess, is, like you said, when he rescues that buffalo, which I could be wrong on this, but the way I saw it was that buffalo had to be roughly around the size of the original Kong. I don't know if that was an intentional Easter egg or not, but considering the amount of Easter eggs in this movie, I feel like that could have been, because it had to be roughly about the same size as the original Kong, so I really like seeing that. Final great character moment with Kong. He's sitting there staring at the Northern Lights. I love that. That was awesome. I guess they wouldn't be the Northern Lights, but
lights
in
the
lights. The lights, the colorful lights in the sky. I love that. I thought Kong was great in this movie.
Oh yeah, totally. And I'm not sure if there's anything else that I can add to what you were saying, other than, I guess, design-wise. I think this is a really neat and original Kong that takes several aspects of past Kongs while still feeling like its own individual. And it's interesting that we got like a dark, like a brown colored, like a brown furred Kong, which I think that's probably the one thing that helps separate him from other interpretations.
I like that.
Yeah, and he's definitely it's a very unique design overall, and I'd also like the nice little touch where he has several scars across his chest, which may have, it's a similar idea to what Kong 05 did, where that Kong had a scar over his eye.
That Kong was all sorts of effed up. He had missing teeth.
Oh, he had like his jaw was kind of
crooked.
Crooked. Yeah. His like I think it was the right side of his jaw was more droopy, kind of busted.
So good.
Yeah, so it's nice that we had like a permanently scarred, battle-scarred Kong, and again helps to, if you never want to draw or if you want to make this version stick out from the rest, your little details here and there to make him stand out.
This Kong's a lot less gorilla than previous Kongs.
Yeah.
He's basically Bigfoot. That's one thing my brother hated, I loved, because it makes him more monstrous than any other Kong. I thought that was great.
I was always against that because I've always wanted to have a more like natural gorilla postured Kong. But I do nowadays, having already had King Kong '05, which is probably the closest you can ever get to a anatomically correct gorilla-like monster, I'm okay with some experimentations now. And it does help. Again, it helps him stick out and make him look unique amongst other monsters, which is really funny because both Godzilla and King Kong are very retro-styled monsters. However, even though they're retro and old school, they actually stick out from a lot of current movie monster designs, which all kind of go in towards this very insectoid, skinny, multi-limbed, generic style of monsters that have sort of become generic over time. And so it's funny how going back to the past is actually more original than trying to do something new, which is kind of the current trend right now.
There's so many examples of that. Stranger Things Season 2. Muto.
Already everybody is making comparisons to that. Even the monster from the first Stranger Things is another multi-limbed, creepy, skinny monster type of monster.
He's more humanoid. The Demogorgon?
Yeah.
He's more humanoid, I think.
Yeah, but he still has some of those traits in him.
Yeah, Cloverfield. There's you're right. We don't get enough variation. Pacific Rim was a great throwback.
Oh yeah,
it was very original, and at the same time very classic. That movie's good.
Yeah,
I don't know why a lot of people don't like it.
I think it might be the same reasons as Kong Skull Island, where they don't like. They think the characters are shallow. They think the action's not good enough to hold up the entire movie. And for the monsters, they don't think the monsters in Pacific Rim are all that memorable because they all share kind of same designs, even though that's part of the plot.
Yeah, people are stupid.
They don't agree with us, therefore they're wrong.
Exactly.
Our opinions are the only ones that matter.
Yeah, you went to school for this stuff. That means you got more credit than any of these guys. You got more credit. You got way more credit than me. I just sit here and.
Oh, if I were to make that argument, then people will just say I'm coming off as very snobby and pseudo intellectual.
I made it for you. It's all right.
It's like, yes, dance, my puppet, dance, defend me, stick up for me.
I think that's. Do you like? What do you think about Kong in this movie? Is he supposed to be? He's not a hero, obviously. He wipes out the whole helicopter squad. I don't think he's supposed to be even an anti-hero. I think he's literally supposed to be just, please get off my island. You're kind of messing up the whole thing I got going here. Like.
I think that's essentially what an anti-hero is supposed to be. He's someone who with positive and negative qualities. And the fact that they make him very sympathetic to the point where he goes out of his way to save Brie Larson is supposed to make him...
hero moment, I thought.
Yeah, and I think that it helps separate him from Godzilla, where both of them are anti-heroes, but Godzilla's more on the dangerous side, where he would care less about hurting humans, whereas Kong, he feels a little more connection towards humans, especially for like the Skull Islanders themselves.
I thought he definitely has. Godzilla was way more goody two shoes than Kong.
No, I think Kong is definitely more heroic than Godzilla. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make Godzilla into more of a villain.
I'm hoping they do.
With Kong being like a defender. Maybe like they'll in Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong, maybe they'll make Kong form a bond with some humans, new human characters, and eventually those human characters are being attacked by Godzilla or are being threatened by Godzilla indirectly, which forces Kong to eventually come in and rescue them. But another thing that I really like is how they were able to, not only like personality wise, but even like when it comes to basic battle tactics, they really differentiate Kong from Godzilla, where Kong is more of, he's a thinking animal.
Oh, I was about to say that too.
His brain is 10 times larger than the size of his skull. Godzilla, his brain is this small. He's sheer brute force. Where Kong uses makeshift tools. He uses his environment to help him out because he's clearly outmatched by strength alone from Ramarak, the king of the.
Is that how you pronounce that? I always thought it was pronounced Remarka.
I don't know. Who knows how the Skull Island language
Yeah,
is supposed to work?
it's not said in the movie, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. So yeah, it's really cool how he's able to make up for his lack of strength with using
too.
the environment around him and
Kong's
speed.
pretty
Yeah,
damn fast.
definitely.
You also
And
get that scene, he
he
runs on all four and then leaps over some helicopters. I could see him doing something like that to Godzilla, where he like comes at him and then goes like jumps over him, because he's gonna be bigger by then. So I could see him totally.
Although it'd be really weird to see a creature that large physically jump that high.
That's true. Maybe Godzilla.
But then again, there are people who are already making the claim, who say that it's scientifically impossible for Godzilla to support his own weight.
It's not.
So
And here's why it's not, is because, as stated in Shin Godzilla, Godzilla's body harbors new elements previously unknown to man, explaining his colossal size.
There's that bullshit. There's that bullshit pseudoscience.
No, that was the one thing in Shin Godzilla that I was like, okay, that made sense, but I don't think this guy knows what the definition of coagulant is.
Who knows? Giant monsters are bullshit, but we don't care. That's the one thing we just ignore. We tend to ignore.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, some people definitely are like, Kong is too big as it is. But then you get the same exact people being like, and that's why he's gonna lose to Godzilla, is because he's 200 feet smaller. It's like, pick a damn side. Ugh.
You're clearly okay with a giant ass dinosaur.
Exactly. That, not to mention it can breathe pure concentrated atomic energy,
and is able to survive a goddamn nuclear bomb.
Hit by the meteor that made the dinosaurs extinct or something like that.
Yeah, because you know.
So bad.
Anyways, I like Kong.
I do too.
I like him a lot.
I'm still surprised you said Kong is not more goody two shoes than Godzilla. Kong's not more of a good guy. I don't understand that at all.
I say he is.
Godzilla had that moment where he like stares at Ford Brody. He's like, "I'm really sorry this is happening."
Because there's nothing else he can do at that moment.
He like comes out of nowhere and saves him. Just like the Muto was already heading out.
He just wants to kick the Muto. He just wants to kick the Muto's ass.
I don't know.
He doesn't give a shit about Ford.
The only thing is, Kong saved Weaver. Godzilla Godzilla never directly saved anybody. But Godzilla also never directly killed anybody either. He accidentally caused a tsunami. That was about the most menacing thing we see Godzilla do that entire movie. Kong, first of all, wipes out the helicopter squad, and then he's face to freaking face with Packard and beats him into the ground for no. He did not know that Packard was gonna blow his head up. So essentially, he had no cause to do that. He punches him straight into the ground.
But at the end of the day, I think we can agree that Kong does have at least an emotional reaction, an emotional connection with the humans in general.
Yes, and
whereas Godzilla is more distant, emotionally distant from humans.
That's very intentional by the people behind the movie. I'm gonna have to give credit to my dad here, because otherwise he'll tell me that I was ripping him off. One thing that he's always
he watches your videos.
Yeah.
Okay.
He watches some of them.
I'm Mr. D-Man's dad.
I'll tell him to watch it just for this shout out. He's always talking about how, and this is true, the people making the movie, like the screenwriters, they do this very intentionally, because Kong, by nature, is more closely connected to humans than Godzilla is. Godzilla's a reptile. He is a dinosaur. And then Kong is just an ape. He's much closer biologically and mentally to humans than Godzilla is, which is why they always do such a good job making you sympathize with Kong, as opposed to, I don't necessarily feel any sympathy for Godzilla, other than maybe very few exceptions. Godzilla, destroy it, you feel sympathy for him.
Yeah.
Because his adopted son dies, but there's you never really feel like when, like we talked about a minute ago, or not a minute ago, it was a long time ago, when we talked about Kong getting shot off the Empire State Building versus Serizawa killing Godzilla. The emotional response may be sympathetic, but they're for two completely different reasons. So they definitely do intentionally make you root for Kong a lot more than you can root for Godzilla because you have more of a connection with him emotionally, depending on, I guess that technically depends on who you like more, but I'm speaking strictly neutral. You do root for Kong more if you don't know either of the kaiju beforehand. And this is one thing that, as we were kind of mentioning, with Godzilla versus Kong, why they're going to fight if both of them are heroes in their own right. I think because it's not necessarily made clear Kong is doing this for the humans. He's not fighting the Skullcrawler for the humans. He's fighting the Skullcrawler for the island. And the heroic things you see Kong do in the movie, other than save Weaver, are for the island. Helping the buffalo. I guess he does kill that squid for no reason, but he needed to eat. That's just simple science right there that you can't dispute. So, I don't know. I think one way that they could have a good excuse to have Kong need to fight Godzilla is have Godzilla make landfall on Skull Island and have it threaten Kong's domain, like what Kong's got going. Have Godzilla show up on Skull Island, ruin all that, just the same way as the helicopters bombed the island and Kong was like, uh-oh, this is gonna wake up what killed my parents. Have something like that, and then have Kong be so mad by whatever Godzilla does on the island to be like, I have to kill this thing, and so he'll hunt Godzilla down, because I just want to see a fight in a city between the two of them. Have Godzilla go to a city and have Kong hunt him down just to kill him, because he's like, you ruined everything I had. I think that would be a great way to do it, because it establishes Kong as king of the island. He's god of the island, so if something interrupts that, if the devil, as they say in this movie, interrupts that, he's going to have to stop this. So, I don't know, I really like that idea. And it doesn't make Kong a hero, because he's doing it for the island, not for humans, and I really am sick of hero kaiju. We had Gamera, and we had Godzilla in the Showa series, and that's enough for my lifetime. I don't like goody two-shoes hero kaiju that are going to save people all the time for the sake of saving people. I think that's a much better way to do it.
That's kind of what led to like the 70s Godzilla, where Kong had zero purpose other than, Godzilla had zero purpose other than to show up at the very end to take care of the problem.
In which movie?
The 70s.
Terror of Mechagodzilla? What?
Just the 70s in general.
Godzilla shows up because he's a good guy in those movies.
Yeah, you said you didn't like that.
Oh yeah, I thought you were saying that was a good example of like a non-hero version. I was like, I think the Heisei series does a much better job than that.
No, I'm saying like...
No, I get it now.
you mentioned that you don't like, monsters that are just heroes.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, where Godzilla's at his most heroic was during the movies in which he had very little to do with the plots themselves.
Yeah. I don't like it.
I feel like you always got to give Godzilla, you always got to give your monsters some other motivation to do that.
Exactly. Now on to what else I thought worked for this movie. This one's just kind of general. I thought the plot was fine. I thought the pacing was good. It was just, you're thrown straight in, first scene, Kong shows up, you meet the characters, and then you're back to just straight action the whole time. I thought it was fine. I thought it worked good for what the movie was.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought the story, for, like we keep saying, the movie's not trying to be a political satire like Shin Godzilla.
Right.
It's trying to just be entertaining, and I think the story works perfectly for that.
And I've made this comparison before in both my reviews with the SOS and on my own channel, where this movie feels like it's trying to be a throwback of some sorts to like the old school monster movies of the 50s and 60s, or even in some cases the 70s. Although I've had less experience with those type of movies.
I'm not very familiar.
I think they were the kind of movies that were produced in the UK, I want to say. I'm not sure, but I'm sure Brendan Tenold has reviewed some of those type of movies in his reviews, where it's a type of movie. It's just a type of movie where the plot's not very complex, the characters are not very deep, but it's just mostly for the sake of spectacle. Especially the movies that come to mind are like the Ray Harryhausen monster flicks, where a lot of monster movie fans love the Ray Harryhausen movies, not so much for the story and characters, but simply on like the premise and the spectacle alone. Oh, yeah. Just seeing these creatures come to life on screen and wreaking havoc amongst the poor pathetic human beings that they step all over, be it Valley of Gwangi or The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Even to some extent, like the Sinbad movies. You don't watch those.
The Sinbad movies, yeah,
those
definitely,
movies are great. I love them, but I
Clash of the
never
Titans.
sat down and been like, I want to see the plot. I watch it because it's super impressive. The special effects are just... That's why you watch these kinds of movies. Kong Skull Island is, I don't think, any exception, because another one of my things that I think really worked for this movie was the special effects. I thought they were great. I do have some exceptions, but I thought for the most part, like, yeah, this movie's really, really good to look at.
Absolutely, yeah. And I do like the Apocalypse Now Vietnam 70s visual aesthetic. It was great, yeah, definitely.
Like the biggest... These are the exceptions that I had. There's 3 exceptions when I watch the movie. Every time I see these scenes, it kind of makes me take a step back and say, where'd that budget go? I mean, I know where it went. It went to that final battle, but like, where was the slightly larger budget when we needed it? These are the exceptions. There's a shot that I think is really, really bad. When Kong smashes this helicopter into the ground, it looks really cool when you're seeing the explosion around him, and then he like he looks at Packard, and he like gives him this look like he wants to kill him, but you see this point of view from Kong's side, where you see Kong's head in the foreground of the screen, and then it's in slow motion, so it lingers on it. The explosion's going off around Packard, and it's like there's like this weird color scheme behind him. Looks so bad. I don't know what happened, but it does not look good. Like, you can definitely tell for that scene, because my final favorite thing about this movie, as we'll talk about here in a little bit, is the way they shot it. You can tell, for at the very least, that scene was on a green screen, and it does not look good. One of the other ones that I had a problem with, I don't know if you picked up on this one, it looks really bad. So there's a scene when Bill Randa and Packard are having a conversation at night, and they're at like a campfire, and that's when the colorful lights in the sky are going on. That one also looks super bad because the color in the sky just doesn't mesh with what's down below it at all.
I didn't notice that. I didn't notice it that much, but
I guess seeing the movie 5 times, I kind of...
I guess so. But, that reminds me of 2 things I didn't like so much when it came to, like, the visuals. It's not really the visuals, but more like the execution, or, like, the...
Integration?
Integration, I guess. One is, I don't like the design of Ramarak. I thought that it was I thought it was lazy that they just simply took the basic Skullcrawler design and just blew it up, add some shoulder spikes and elbow spikes and called it a day.
Wasn't that the point, though? I thought that he was just supposed to be an adult, like a full-grown Skullcrawler.
He is, but it just doesn't feel that special.
Like maybe if he had more scars, like maybe if
or
he
maybe
had
just a different color,
himself.
Or a different colorization. Because I've seen, you've seen creatures in real life that eventually change the color patterns or change the color of their skin, or as they grow and mature over time. Maybe they grow horns over time as they mature. We've certainly seen that with animals like Triceratops or goats, or anything that develop.
The 2 most similar animals, the Triceratops and the goat.
And the goats,
the most commonly associated.
Absolutely. I don't know why those 2 came to mind, but I was disappointed that they didn't go far enough with differentiating Ramarak's design from the average Skullcrawler designs, and he didn't come off as all that interesting. And actually, when I saw Ramarak in the trailers, I thought that was a mid-level boss sort of deal. I thought that was going to be like a fight. I thought there was going to be something more than just one big Skullcrawler, and I was disappointed at the end that there wasn't more. Although that's mostly because I was spoiled by the trailers, thinking that the trailers wasn't showing exactly everything. Maybe I was hoping that I fully thought that the trailers had the movie had one more surprise up its sleeve, but no, I was disappointed to learn that it was just Skullcrawlers, small and big, and that was it.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the biggest problems with this movie was the marketing killed it. The marketing, although I thought like the trailers, the 3 trailers we got, I loved, but the TV spots and everything else, all the sneak peeks footage, man, they just
I did like
way
that.
too much.
I did like that they did not reveal the Gutbuster finisher, as I like to call it.
I know, that was amazing.
I feel like they could have gone more further with the Gutbuster, but I guess they still needed to adhere to that PG-13 rating.
That is exactly what they did, because I think it would have been cool. Because if you really think about it, again, the science of it doesn't add up.
No, like, why is the tongue connected to everything else? But maybe that's just Skullcrawler
I think the thing is, Kong gets him from the stomach. I thought the way I got it was that he wrapped the tongue around the tongue wraps around his arm, and then he sticks his hand in so he can get a grip on the stomach.
He can. Remember, he's holding on to Brie Larson.
That's the thing is, it's only. I guarantee I'm one of the few people in the universe who noticed this, other than the people who animated it. But she is laying, when he pulls her out of the water, her head is towards his thumb, and her legs are away from his thumb. And then when he pulls his hand out of the Skullcrawler, her head is away from his thumb, and her feet are next to his thumb, meaning that at some point or another, he would have had to let go of her and then re-grab her. And I think I think maybe it's just me reading into it, because it could have been a continuity error, but I think what was supposed to be implied is that he grabbed onto something on the inside in order to tear out. And so I thought it would have been cool, because your stomach is connected to everything, your intestines, and
esophagus.
Yeah, it's connected to everything. So I think it would have been really cool as if we got Kong pulls his arm out, the guts come out with it, but then he has to keep pulling to get them all out, and then he whips it out finally, and everything pours out, and the thing falls over dead. I think that would have been just crazy cool to just watch him, like, like in Kong 33 when he's pulling up that vine that they're climbing down. He's like, I don't know where you guys think you're going. If he did something like that with the guts, where he was pulling it out like hand over hand, I think that would have been so good to see. Like
give it a long, painful death.
Yeah,
like the
really set the bar high for
the kiss of death. Like the kiss of death, it was like several seconds long in Godzilla 2014. Whereas with Kong Skull Island, it's just like 1 second, and that's like you blink and you miss it.
Well, it is still cool, because if you pay attention, he tips its head over so that the rest of the guts spill out, but it was not. I don't think it was, like you said, I don't think it was long enough.
Or when he had like the propeller blade in his hand, and he was like cutting up.
That was awesome.
He uppercuts it. I wish that there was more blood involved there.
Yeah.
Because it didn't look like it did that much damage. Like you can see the scar on the Ramarak's neck. But again, there's no blood, so I wish there was blood there so we can tell that it did a lot of damage.
Maybe on the Blu-ray, because sometimes they go back and they add stuff. They change it slightly. Maybe on the Blu-ray we'll get some more. I don't know. Because I know, like, for instance, The Walking Dead, whenever they release a Blu-ray, the Blu-ray is always a little bit more than what they could show on TV, so maybe they'll do something like that with the Blu-ray. Also,
like the unrated cut.
Yeah, because they also said potentially. I still have not been able to find it again, but I know at one point in history, whether it was from a reliable source or not, which is why I have never been on record saying this. Vogue Roberts, according to some sort of place that I read, mentioned the fact that there was a lot of footage cut from this movie, and you really see that when you watch this movie. That's my biggest complaint with the movie. One of my biggest complaints is it's a 3-hour movie cut down to 2 hours for sure. They definitely have like a DC thing kind of going on where
I think that may have been for the better if that's the case.
I disagree, because the editing feels clunky to me. There's some scenes when, like, the best example of this is Weaver pulls out the lighter, throws it into the pit, it explodes, Skullcrawler falls dead. You see all the characters laying on their back, cut to them all standing up, looking around at what just happened, and then you immediately cut to they're just having a conversation inside this bamboo forest, and it goes by really quick, but it is super clunky the way it comes across. I thought the editing was choppy because of it, and I feel like there's more story to be told in this movie. Also, the novelization. Whoever did the novelization reportedly extended it. Like I said, I still have not been able to find it, but reportedly before it came out, at the very least, they said they were going to add what wasn't in the movie back to the story. So I'm really interested to see that. The 2014 novelization did the same thing. If you ever read that one, it added to the movie.
I heard a little bit from David, aka Gorzard, about the differences and the little details added here and there.
Yeah, I'm rereading it now. I think if we get something like that where they extend the story and give us a little bit more, I think that might really work. And like I said, I'm hoping that they're gonna do that for the Blu-ray release, where they give us Batman v Superman, or I guess the DC extended universe in general keeps doing this now, where they release a version in theaters, a mainstream version if you want to call it that, and then they give the full extended version afterward, because I still think, and me and my brother, who hates kaiju movies but walked out of this movie loving it, me and him both agree that there was still more to be told with this, more story to be told with this movie. And I don't know, concept arts, there was a lot, not even concept arts, even on the Monarch website, there was a lot of monsters that didn't appear in this movie. Some things that were attacking the boat at one point were seen. There's a lot of stuff that didn't make it in, and I would love to find out what all goes down with that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Anything else to talk about other than the two characters you have been avoiding this entire time?
The music. Do you like it?
It was serviceable.
Serviceable.
No, it didn't grab me as much as Godzilla 2014's soundtrack did. I didn't even think there was like a theme song to latch onto, but maybe it's only because I've watched the movie only 2 times, whereas with Godzilla I've watched that movie.
You're doing yourself a disservice.
I already paid $30 for the Shin Godzilla soundtrack. I ain't paying that much for I ain't paying money for another soundtrack ever again.
Wow. That is, you're doing yourself a disservice. The soundtrack for this movie. Don't you
judge me.
Too late. the music in this movie, for the most part, except for one song that they repeat constantly throughout the movie, which is called Packard's Blues, is great. Like,
I will say I love the licensed soundtrack. I love that.
Oh, that music has become some of my favorite music. I've listened. I made a playlist of it on YouTube of all the different songs they use. I have listened to it so many times. I'm learning some of it on piano, as people have seen on the channel. I think the licensed music for this movie is great. When it comes to the actual soundtrack that they composed, though, there's 2 songs in particular that stand out as really, really good. The first one's called Project Monarch, and it plays during the opening. It plays during the montage at the opening, taking us through history. The second one is called The Island, and they're both variations of one another. They are... The person who did the music for this movie is the same person who did the music for X-Men First Class. They are really good, really stylized. It's his style. I don't know how you can not own the soundtrack. I bought it first day it came out. I love the music in this movie.
Well, that's very good.
Final thing, other than we'll get to the 2 characters that you seem to like, but I hate.
I love them. You hate them. I'm right. You're wrong. End discussion.
Easter eggs. Do you like them?
Let's see. Any Easter eggs off the top? Oh, I did like Hold On to Your Butts. Yeah, that was fun.
There was so many. Like, you got that, obviously. There were some references to Jurassic Park, with Weaver and Conrad looking at Kong when it's reflecting on in Jurassic Park when they're all staring at the Brontosaurus, or I think that's the dinosaur that they all look at when they're up in that tree. And at first they're all afraid of it, and then that girl's all afraid of it. It's been so long since I've seen Jurassic Park. She's all afraid of it, and then it's like a peaceful moment. There's obviously a ton of Easter eggs to Apocalypse Now, visual Easter eggs. A ton of Easter eggs to previous King Kong movies, such as basically the plot. The plot of this movie with them going to this island that one of them happens to hear about from, they hear about it from the satellites. ripped straight from 76.
Mm-hmm.
Them bombing the island in order to map the surface of the island. Again, it's a throwaway line in 76, but it's pulled straight from that movie. This movie, I think, if you really go into it looking for Easter eggs, there's so much to be seen here.
Uh-huh.
I definitely, one of the main reasons I keep going back to it is to find them all. So I'm surprised, because I know a lot of people were picking up on them when the trailers were all coming out. So I'm surprised the only one that you knew was Hold On to Your Butts. Well, yeah, that one was pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this movie, a lot of people are claiming is like a Marvel quote-unquote rip-off because it's, you know, it's a shared universe, which I don't think these people realize that technically, like, Universal is the first one that I can think of to ever do a shared universe with its old Monster series. Toho had a shared universe with its Showa series.
Right, but I think they meant
before.
that rip-off as in the fact that the reason why they're doing the shared universe is because of the success of Marvel.
I think it's just because King Kong and Godzilla. If you make a King Kong movie, because initially Kong Skull, or I guess back then it was just Skull Island, wasn't in the universe with Godzilla. But then I think they kind of realized, wait a minute, like people are gonna want them to fight, might as well, right? So I feel like that's a little bit more of the intentions behind it. I guarantee Marvel played a factor in it. Everyone
they influenced it. Everyone you know, Transformers is doing it. Warner Brothers is doing it with DC. Yeah, they want to make a Bumblebee spin-off movie. There was recently supported that Michael Bay said that there's 14 possible stories for that. You know, we'll eventually get who is still alive in the Transformers universe that isn't Optimus Prime and Bumblebee? Well, I guess the age of Mark Wahlberg. They'll make a spin-off movie only with Mark Wahlberg. They'll make a spin-off project of Shia LaBeouf, so we'll know whatever happened to Sam Witwicky.
Does anyone care?
No. The only thing people care about with Shia LaBeouf is trying to steal his flag nowadays. That's a hilarious story. Maybe they want to make a movie based off John Goodman bots from Transformers 4.
I don't know. I think people are selling this movie short when they say they just did it to rip off Marvel. They did not. Maybe, if anything, they did it because King Kong vs. Godzilla is the most successful Godzilla movie, and they want to cash in on that.
And it helps that the Avengers made a cajillion dollars.
And it helps that the Avengers. But I do think that they maybe went a little bit overboard with them being like, it's going to be a shared universe, after credits scene, as well as we're going to layer this movie with
two more examples.
Many Easter eggs as possible.
Ghostbusters wanted to make a cinematic universe, and Sony wanted to make a Spider-Man cinematic universe. And now with no Spider-Man, Sony wants to make a Venom movie and they want to make a Venom movie. They want to make a Sinister Six movie. They want to make an animated Miles Morales Spider-Man movie. They want it all.
Do they not have license to do a live-action Miles Morales anymore?
Maybe they can,
Why
but
not just be like, all right, you guys have Peter Parker. We're just gonna keep Miles Morales and do our Spider-Man cinematic universe with him.
Like I mentioned, in the SOS, it's like fuck that. They're gonna go with Scarlet Spider.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait.
They're gonna bring back sleeveless hoodies from the future. Ripped,
awesome.
ripped.
Don't they
ripped
own
sleeves?
Do they own the rights to all incarnations of Spider-Man? Because couldn't they just do like a Spider-Man 2029? I don't think anyone's going to complain if that happens.
No, they have the rights to all Spider-Man. They can do Spider-Man Noir for all I care, which I actually would care pretty much, given my name.
They are definitely gonna lose all those rights due to.
They'll make Man Spider. If you remember that, if you remember that from the animated show.
I have heard of it, but I did not grow up with any of that, so.
Spider blood, radioactive spider blood. That was the theme song.
I was gonna say I don't get that reference, but.
Damn you for being younger than me.
I guess final thing that I liked about this movie, and I think everyone can say this who's seen it, the fact that they filmed on location helped this movie, set it apart from other movies. I've been bagging a lot on the upcoming Justice League movie for filming primarily on a green screen instead of in an actual location, because this movie they went to Hawaii, Vietnam, especially Vietnam. If you know anything about Jordan Vogt Roberts, the director of this movie, that has basically become his life, is the fact that he went to Vietnam and he has dedicated everything since this movie came out to Vietnam. I think he's talked about becoming the travel ambassador for Vietnam. He has tried to get so many people to go to the country in order to witness it. This was the first movie, Kong Skull Island was the first movie to ever film large scale in Vietnam. And Vogt Roberts, the director, which I'm so happy that he was the one who directed this, because he has a genuine love for this stuff. He has just really, really shown how much he loves both Kong and Vietnam. On Instagram especially, Instagram and Twitter is basically where he posts all this stuff, because I guess the natives of Skull Island in the movie, he just got actual natives of Vietnam to be the islanders. I don't know, he did a lot to film on location, because as he said in interviews, he wanted to show off the raw beauty and horror of Earth at the same time, and it definitely succeeds when you watch this movie, because you can tell they're there. You can tell they're actually on, like, in a real place instead of on a green screen, which is why the scenes in front of a green screen stand out so much.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was one of the things that a lot of people have not mentioned in their reviews that I think is one of the best aspects of this movie.
You're right. It feels like something you kind of take for granted now, like on what do you call it, on location, for a film to be shot on location. It's something that's you kind of take for granted now, but it's something that many people have complained about for years, especially when it comes to movies like Star Wars, where the prequel trilogy was always filmed in front of a blue screen or green screen. That to go back to physical on-location sets with the newer Star Wars movies feels like a breath of fresh air. And so you're right about that. I guess because we've already had, I didn't notice it that much until you pointed it out. I guess because I was already used to seeing that kind of stuff with Godzilla 2014 with their on-location sets, save for certain sequences like the bridge or the airport scene. But even then, Kong certainly does have a very different flavor when it comes to its visuals and its locations. So you are right to give props to the people behind the cinematography and the people who helped him create those shots, those wonderful shots, and the director himself, who was kind of the man who was pushing for that, for people to witness the interesting visual variety of Vietnam.
Yeah, I'm like I said, if you want to know more about this stuff, go check out Vogt Roberts' Instagram, because everything on there is him talking about, like, little fun facts about they actually built that Gray Fox boat. That was a real boat that they built, and they built it in Hawaii, and they filmed, like, one scene with it, then they disassembled it, took it to Vietnam, reassembled it, and then they actually drove it down some rivers. The helicopters, if you notice, the end credits gave special mention to a helicopter museum which donated all these helicopters.
I noticed that too.
That was great. They looked really good. You actually see there's some behind the scenes B-roll footage where they actually crashed helicopters into the ground and, like, into the forest. It's awesome. So then I
bet you, like, the director, he's looking at that, he's telling people crash here. He's like, I love my job.
That has got to be one of the best jobs in the world.
It's like, I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
The boneyard too. That was real. The boneyard was real. Like, obviously the filter on it wasn't, which is a problem I have with the movie, is they put this weird tint,
yellow filter,
like a yellow brown tint on, like an Instagram filter, and it's like that ruins the movie, I feel like, because when I did, I always do these projects called All Scenes in Order, where I attempt to guess how the movie's going to play out by editing all the trailer footage into what I think the order of the movie is going to be. And I noticed that there's some shots from trailer 1 that are also in trailer 3 and 2. And those shots in trailer 1 are before they put the filter on, and they're very green, very beautiful. And then you look at after the filter was put on, and they're brown and colorless, and it's just disappointing to know that it could have looked better.
I wasn't as bothered by the filter because I guess it's one thing I have noticed is that a lot of Hollywood productions have relied a lot on digital filters, especially with the most common one being the orange and teal color palette that they tend to go with most movies, and it's something that I'm really sick of seeing. And another one I'm sick of seeing is like that's been happening recently is the gray filter that's been used in a lot of DC Marvel movies definitely, but DC I feel to a greater extent. It just saps the life and color out of everything, and maybe it's to give that dreary mood, but I just grew annoyed with it. So yeah, I don't, and especially with horror movies, there's usually like I also use that gray, almost like dirty, greenish in some cases color tint. So with Kong, even though yes, it's yet another example of color tinting, I feel like it's at least different, provides a different flavor. I think I've used that word already a couple times, but it provides some different style of visuals as opposed to the generic orange and teal motif or the gray motif that we've seen in a lot of current newer action movies.
Yeah, I just wish they'd stop.
Yeah, let's bring out Filthy Frank with his giant clock in front of the green screen. It's time to stop!
Definitely. That should be there every time. Every time that they consider bringing Zack Snyder back for a DC movie.
No more. Where the fuck are your parents? I'm gonna call Child Protective Services. It's time to stop.
Alright, let's get into Packard and Randa.
They are freaking awesome because it's John Goodman and Sam Jackson doing the things that John Goodman and Sam Jackson always do, and I love it.
Alright, so this is literally probably all of my didn't work section that we haven't covered yet is these two characters. So the thing about I guess we'll start with Bill Randa because I actually liked him. The thing about him is the only problem I have with him, and I don't know if, once again, I feel like because I've seen the movie too much, maybe I have a lot more flaws with it than most people do, or maybe I just pick out things that most people shouldn't because like I said, I've seen it too much. He's too exposition-y. Everything he says is so exposition-y. It just is shoved straight down your throat. The best two examples are, number one, the way the movie starts with him being like, oh, we got to get this money funding Monarch because we're about to go out of business. By the way, Vietnam War is going to end, and we need to get this piggybacked with Landsat to go to this island before that happens, and giant monsters are real. It is just so... And it's all brought up naturally later on in the movie. I don't understand why they did that. My other huge problem with him is when they go to the bar to pick up Conrad before they meet him, you have this awful scene of Brooks and Randa talking as they're walking into the bar where he's like, I thought you said this guy was, or he's like, why do we need British
surveillance?
Special forces? He's like, why do we need British special forces to join us on this expedition? You already got your military escort. And then you have Randa be like, he's former SAS. He left the military. He does his own thing. He is a mercenary, and he's going to help us because he's great at everything. And then later on in the movie, that's brought up completely naturally in a conversation between Weaver and Conrad when Conrad corrects her and is like, I'm not actually in the military anymore. And she's like, oh, I didn't think you were a mercenary. And he's like, you didn't think a lot of things. But, the thing that I have a problem with is why is everything he's got to say
because I think that
everything to the audience?
Because I feel like you did mention that it's introduced naturally within the movie. However, at that point, even though their backstory is introduced, the character themselves isn't, I want to say. I feel like we got to recruit these characters. So in order to recruit these characters, we got to explain to the audience why we need to recruit these characters. And then once the characters they've recruited start interacting with each other, then they start to understand each other. So I guess it's kind of like a what do you call it? A double-edged sword. If that's the right term to use, where you need to do it to explain why why Randa is looking for these characters in the first place, and why he's doing the thing that he needs to do in the first place. But at the same time, you're introducing so many characters that eventually they're going to have to meet and interact with each other. At which point they need to not only introduce themselves to Randa and the audience, but now they need to introduce each other to the they need to introduce themselves to each other, and so that I can see where you find where I can see why you have a problem with them kind of repeating information that they've already explained at the beginning of the movie.
They just explain it, I think, in such a poor way. That's my biggest problem with it.
That's the thing. I think John Goodman did an adequate job doing his exposition. I do agree. I can see where you're coming from, where a lot of his dialogue does feel very expositionary, but I feel like John Goodman was able to perform it with a level of how would you say, gravitas, and a lot of, like, you can take his performance very seriously. And I think for me, his exposition draws me personally. It draws me into the universe because he's an older character. He has experienced a lot in this world. He has a lot of experience with Monarch. He himself has pretty much explained that he witnessed Godzilla.
Oh, I love that.
And so I really enjoy everything that he has to say, and he's always had like a very serious tone with all of his explanations, and like you get that sense of urgency as to why he is doing why he's doing what he does. One thing that was very weird was that he mentioned 1954, and he's like, they were trying to kill something there. And it's like, wait a minute, what? You sound like you're unsure as to whether or not they were trying to kill Godzilla during those bombs. He's like, those weren't bombs. They were trying to kill something. He's like, why are you explaining this to the government? I thought the government was already behind killing Godzilla. About. It's like, do they know about Godzilla? Do they not know? Is Monarch wasn't Monarch was started by Roosevelt? And if so, why is it a secret? Is it not a secret?
It was started by Truman, he says.
Yeah, but then again, it's like going to Godzilla Awakening. There's like a whole other different explanation as to why Monarch formed. So, ignoring Awakening,
that comic has to be out of continuity. Like, there's no way it makes any sense. I don't think that anyone who made the movies read that comic, and I don't think whoever wrote that comic
because
made
the guy who
the movies.
Dude, the guy who wrote the comic was the guy who wrote the 2014, Max Borenstein. He had a part in making that story.
Was his part being like, yes, Godzilla's going to show up and get bombed in the 50s. There you go, I've contributed, put me on the cover. It's so bad, it doesn't make any sense.
It just raises too many questions.
Oh, I hate it. I'm hoping that comic's good. But yeah.
But that was my only problem with this exposition, is like whether or not the government is aware of Godzilla's existence isn't.
I think it is answered at the end credit scene though, because
they definitely know by the end for sure.
No, they know by the end. But what I'm saying is, if you the second frame, so you see like these, when the projector boots up. You see the Monarch logo in front of that serpent, which is also like, what is that serpent? That'd be cool to find out what that is. There's a serpent on there's a serpent on the Monarch logo. I'll send it to you afterward.
Wait, wasn't it like the Monsterverse logo you sent me? Is it on there?
No, it's not on there. But
okay,
it's a serpent in the background of the Monarch logo, and then the next thing you see says like, you had to be a Monarch clearance level 8 or up in order to know about this information. So maybe we're supposed to understand that the dude who was in charge of funding Monarch, because he's not actually a part of Monarch, doesn't. He's not allowed to be filled in on all the information because like you said, you get the sense based off that whole, which is one of the only bits of kind of exposition. Yeah, it is definitely exposition when him and Packard are talking. That when I watched that, I was like, this works because when he's explaining why he's in Monarch, what Monarch is, and then he mentions the fact that this giant monster 30 years ago killed all these people on this boat, and it just kept going. Like you really do get the sense, oh, that's Godzilla, or at least I did.
Yeah.
That's great. That is great.
It's like, no, it's Gorgo.
It's Gorgo.
It's Gorgo.
Yeah, he's
Gorgo confirmed.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think we would ever get a flashback to that in like Godzilla 2? Maybe that's how the movie would open.
I'm not sure because so far they seem to be carrying this tradition of having stock footage, historical stock footage for the opening credits.
But the thing that comes before it, maybe. Oh, I guess that technically is how 2014 starts with that. But Kong Skull Island doesn't.
That is true. There's the
great
the World War II scene. Yeah.
That part's awesome. Seeing Kong come over that cliff.
Right.
Oh, my heart was pounding so hard in the theater.
You started like had this like primal reaction where it's like you were beating your own chest when you saw that, like oh. You get all excited when you see it, when you see Kong on screen.
Like, the movie starts out, you see him fall on the beach, and in my head, because one thing that was debated before the movie was if that end shot from trailer 1 of Kong's head rising up over those two people on that mountain, if that was or wasn't a flashback scene, and I was convinced that was Tom Hiddleston on the ground. So once I finally realized when the two were fighting on that cliff what I was seeing and that this was a flashback and Kong was about to show up, my heart started to race and I was so excited, and then it happened. I was so happy. Then that historical stuff plays. I don't know. Maybe, do you think in the historical footage, if they continue that tradition in 2019, we could see some documents talking about the sinking of whatever that ship was called by Godzilla, maybe. Like maybe you'd have to dig through the opening sequence in order to find out a little bit more about it. Because in this opening sequence as well, it's layered with small little details that you kind of have to frame by frame to figure out what it's talking about. Like there's a description of when Randa joined Monarch in there, and I still haven't read it yet, but I know it's there. I've seen the pictures all over the internet. I just have not gotten around to actually sitting down and reading what it talks about. But it does detail a lot of the history of Monarch throughout that opening, which is why the song that plays is called Project Monarch. You think we'll get anything like that?
Let's see. It's possible that they would throw something like throw the audience a bone and put in like some sort of subtle secrets and hints there that can help add to the lore of the movie.
I hope so. So yeah, I think other than the exposition, other than the like way too much exposition, and it's mostly within the first 10-20 minutes of the movie from Randa, he's a great character. Yeah. And I do like he feels like the Serizawa of this movie, where he's another scientist type character he feels more like Brody
Brody.
Joe Brody.
Oh, Joe Brody.
Where you're like, this is a...
Oh, Cranston. Cranston's character.
He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's talking about. He knows all this stuff, and then he
wants
dies.
to prove a point. He wants to prove a point where everyone doesn't believe him.
Way. Although this death, I thought, although it was predictable, I really did like it, because you have that really intense sequence with the camera flashing.
Yeah, and it led to a really cool moment where they were using the camera flashes to detect where the Skullcrawler was.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was creepy and really effective.
I don't know. I thought other than that, I liked him. Packard, on the other hand, nothing about this character do I like. After
I loved everything about this character. Actually, I really liked that he felt like he represented a lot of the feelings and emotions that America was going through at the time. I liked how he was his character who had, you could tell from the beginning that, you know, this is, I love when the camera was panning around his office and you see all the medals that in his office, you see the images with him and the president. You can tell he dedicated like 110% of his life to the government. And I like that line he said where it's like, what do we do now? Or wasn't this what we were fighting for? You feel so emasculated by the war, and it's like a huge blow to both his and America, by extension, his pride, his ego, all of that is just completely shattered away by the when America, you know, basically had to pull out of the Vietnam War. There's that sense of defeat, and so when he is brought down by Kong, he feels those same. He kind of projects all of his built-up rage, built-up pented rage and anger at the world, and he just aims it at Kong. And so he kind of has that mentality of we got to get them before they get us, sort of deal. And I like that it was kind of like Moby Dick. It was like Captain Ahab and Moby Dick, where he becomes so obsessed with killing this giant beast fighting against nature that it ends up biting him in the ass big time by the end.
That's such a cliche. If you're gonna ding Chapman earlier for that, I feel like that's even worse because not only
But here's the thing, Chapman wasn't played by Sam Jackson.
Maybe I'm just sick of, because Sam Jackson is in like every movie that's ever been made nowadays. Maybe I'm just like kind of tired of it. But
I can never get tired of Sam Jackson.
I don't know. The thing about, so there's a few interesting things here. Number one, doesn't necessarily relate to Skull Island, but I just found this really interesting. In my history class, I noticed in world history that we wound up actually skipping over the Vietnam era. And so I asked my teacher why we never got into that war, and basically it boils down to, at least in my area in America, they don't want to talk about America's defeats in war. And I found that super. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, if people are gonna find out about this anyways, you have to start teaching this stuff.
You use Kong Kong Skull Island as a reference for the Vietnam War.
That was kind of what I did.
Oh, if you ever need any help for that, there's always Apocalypse Now.
Exactly.
And they say movies can't teach you shit. Like the teachers throughout high school, they always tell you don't watch the movie. But in this case, it feels like this is the only way you can learn.
I know. I was really surprised to know that we skipped over that. We also very briefly, basically, this is what we heard. There was a conflict in Korea. Moving on. I was like, why aren't we gonna go in depth with these two?
And we're not going to talk about
situations.
We're not going to talk about the thing that led to one of the greatest threats to the world.
I know. They talk about in my school, at the very least, they talked about North Korea as a problem, as if it was like a problem that just completely came out on its own. There was a lot of build up to why that happened, and we
chose sides.
Yeah, me. America and Russia. Me and Russia. We really didn't like each other. I was the president back then. No, America and Russia basically puppeteered what went on, and I don't know. I was really surprised to find out that our school it's not in the curriculum to teach about anything about those wars, so we didn't talk about them.
Funny enough, they're willing to teach the Cold War simply because we kind of won in the end.
Yeah, sort of.
But we just used capitalism to make a lot of money and made communist Russia kind of fall apart because they couldn't keep up with us because their systems doesn't allow them to make money as much as our capitalist society, for better or worse.
Yeah, I don't know. I was very disappointed when I found all that out, and it's because I had relatives who fought in those wars, which was the other thing, which was like,
yeah. I believe I have a great uncle who who also participated as well. Unfortunately, I don't see him that often because he lives in L.A.
All of my relatives passed away who fought in those wars, so there's no I can't get any first-hand information. But it's like if this generation, like my generation, if we're still old enough to have known people that fought in these wars, you have to mention them. You cannot. I was super surprised.
Right.
I guess back to Skull Island. Packard.
We're going all over the place with this review. We talked about
I think that's
gender
kinda,
roles and racial diversity.
That's kind of the point. That's kind of the thing about my channel. I don't think I've ever been able to sit down and be on topic for a video in my life.
I know how you feel, man. I know how you feel.
I don't know, man. Maybe that's why people love me, or maybe that's why people hate me.
At the end of the day, you've got your
attention span of no one.
You satisfy everyone. You satisfy everyone and no one at the same time.
Exactly. That's because my attention span basically lasts as long as the average YouTube viewer, where every 3 minutes they want to change topics. That is me.
And that's why maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's only why I have only 1,400 subscribers.
It's scripted.
It's scripted. I focus too much on one thing at a time.
Whereas me, you can talk about, is Minya adopted? I don't know. Let's talk about all the times they accidentally used the Gabra suit. Maybe they intentionally did, but, you know, you look at that Gabra suit and it's an accident.
By the way, did you know that there might be 2 Godzillas in this continuity?
And there is no face in Shin Godzilla's tail, alright?
I'm sorry for these pot shots, man.
It is fine. I get them. There comes a point when you
if you ever want to shit on my content, feel free to do so, man.
There comes a point when you get so many views that you take a look at your comments and realize, wow, most people don't like me. So, it is totally okay. I get it.
I apologize for any jokes that may go beyond the line.
Fine. None of them do. My brother grills me about my channel more than anyone in the universe. So I get it.
It's like I live with criticism every single day.
Exactly.
Oh boy. So let's see.
Packard.
So yeah, that's Packard. I think we pretty much said what we need to say about him.
I hate him.
I love him.
He's such a cliche.
He's such an awesome character.
That's the other thing. People also hate me. I guess I accidentally spoiled his death in a video that didn't have to do with Kong Skull Island. People got so mad.
Don't worry, just tell them that there's 2 Packards in the movie.
No, like there's Packard that's played by Sam Jackson, and there's Packard that's played by
Ellie
Chinese
Jackson.
Actress. Chinese actress Jing Tian plays Packard. She's such an unmemorable character you're not going to remember anyways. Although she lives.
They pulled the Princess Amidala. She was actually the real Packard.
Exactly. That got me in a lot of trouble. Although Sam Jackson talked about his character's death before the movie came out, technically. No,
I did not know that.
He never flat out said, "Oh, by the way, my character dies in the movie," but he did say, if you want to know my character, go read Moby Dick. I play Captain Ahab. That is who I am. So if you know Moby Dick, you're like, oh wait, this guy's dead. Like, okay.
I will say it's the best Sam Jackson death scene since Deep Blue Sea.
I don't think I've seen that movie.
He gets eaten by a shark out of nowhere.
Great. I love it. Okay, so like the after credit scene or not?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
I enjoyed it.
Do you ever hear about what the original after credit scene was?
No.
This was talked about by Vogue Roberts. This was definitely talked about by Vogue Roberts. He talked about how the original after credit scene was Conrad, Weaver, Brooks, and Sam on a boat in the north. And there was a big iceberg they found Godzilla in an iceberg, and he came out of the iceberg and swims away, and that was going to be the after credit scene. Because I think the idea was it would have been a throwback to the concept art for 2014. If you remember that, when they found that Godzilla in the ice.
Oh yeah.
Ice in the concept art.
Yeah.
So I think that was supposed to be the idea, is that we were supposed to see something similar to that with Monarch discovering Godzilla in an iceberg, just to have him wake up and swim away, and then he would be dormant up until 2014 when the Mutos woke him up.
Okay, so that iceberg scene is supposed to take place between the events of the 54 nuclear bombings and
don't say it like that. My
2014.
subscribers are going to get mad at you. Nuclear.
Oh right,
Make sure-
nuclear.
make sure you
nuclear.
make it
Thank you,
very,
nuclear.
very
I got shit. I've been shit on before. I've been shit on in the past by one individual who's like, "You're still saying it that," and I would give the excuse saying, you know, this video is like 1 year old, right?" But yeah, you're right.
You have no idea. One of my most
Nuclear.
one of my most popular videos on my channel, months and months old.
Yeah.
Pretty much the only comments is, actually, it's not pronounced nuclear. It's pronounced
Well,
nuclear.
actually.
You need to see this video. I literally had to go back months later and pin a comment to the top saying, please, guys, you don't have to tell me how to pronounce the word. I know how to pronounce it.
It's like,
which just made
congratulations.
people do it to me just to piss me off, where they would respond to that comment being like, I don't think you do, actually, because it's pronounced nuclear, not nuclear. I was, ugh, you gotta stop. I get it. I
It's
still
time
say it
to
wrong.
stop.
It's time to stop. You excited for the potential for the mid-cool for Skull Island, depending on whatever form we get it in?
Yeah, definitely. At this point, I doubt that we'll see a mid-quel anytime soon because
of the,
you know,
they don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of time, and right now it looks like all their focus was going to be on Godzilla from now on. We're going to get Godzilla King of the Monsters, followed by Godzilla vs. Kong, if that's going to be the final title or not. So I did make a whole video with Deadpoolzilla speculating on what the future may come for the Monsterverse if it continues to be successful between now and Godzilla vs. Kong.
I feel like it will.
And right now it looks like Legendary's putting all their chips on... They're putting all their bets on Godzilla and Kong alone. And obviously they're going to introduce... because they're the most, they're history's greatest monsters. Yeah. And, they're going to go kind of like the Civil War method of introducing other characters through Kong and Godzilla stories, what with Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan. So whether or not...
Batman v Superman did it first with Wonder Woman.
Actually... who cares? Civil War is the better movie, so I'm going to pay attention to that. They did it successfully.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to get the first spin-off movie from Civil War with Spider-Man Homecoming.
That one looks good.
So, but then again, we also have Wonder Woman, but I'm putting my bets on Marvel. So,
smart thing to do. Marvel, not Sony. You gotta make it specific. I'm rooting for whatever Marvel contributes, because their track record is good. I don't know.
For the most part.
I would really like to see a solo film for Mothra, though.
Yeah, and maybe a solo film for Rodan, who knows, and maybe just another Kong movie down the line. So at this point, we probably don't know what direction they're going to go in. That's not Godzilla or Kong, but most likely we're going to get a Godzilla 3. But as for another Kong,
wasn't that the idea though? I thought there was initially planned a Godzilla 3 after.
I believe so. Yeah.
Maybe they took it off just to make it like, now that people won't know Godzilla's gonna live through that movie. Maybe so.
I'm not sure, because with this movie, or with the Monsterverse, they really want to... Or I think before the Monsterverse, when they were just focusing solely on Godzilla, they probably mentioned something like they wanted to make a trilogy, because before making cinematic universes, trilogies were the thing that most studios wanted to do, where they're saying, oh, this is the first in a trilogy, and it's like, we're going to make a trilogy, and if not, if we get good, then maybe we'll make 4 movies or 5 movies. So I think they announced somewhere along the line that they wanted to make Godzilla 2 and 3, but ever since the Monsterverse was announced, that's became their biggest priority now, is to advertise the Monsterverse front and center.
I don't know. I don't want them to screw it up. I really hope they made the right call with the new director for Godzilla King of the Monsters. I don't think they did, but I'm hoping he surprises me.
Hopefully it'll be one of those out of left field decisions that pays off in the end.
Yeah. Do you know anything about him? He's a horror movie director.
Right, and from what I understand, Krampus and Trick or Treat were... I heard everyone... I've never heard a negative review for Trick or Treat. Krampus, I've heard average to positive reviews for it.
Yeah, I don't know. like I said,
Then again, it was kind of the
horror
same.
movie actors too. Well, I guess Millie Bobby Brown, who is from Stranger Things, she's not a horror movie actress, but Stranger Things is kind of a
Involved in horror
ish show. Yeah, there's a
I will say that
one of the many plots of that show is horror.
But still, the actress herself is really talented for someone of her age. Then they get, who else did they got? They got the
chick.
Then they got a Walking. Didn't they get like a Walking Dead actor, the guy who played Neilman? I don't follow the show, but I just know the guy with the baseball bat.
No, I hope
maybe
so.
I'm wrong.
I have not heard that, but
maybe I'm thinking of someone else that looks like him.
They cast the only ones that I know are in the movie.
Wasn't it the comedian, the actor who played the comedian in Watchmen?
Yeah,
no.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He plays the comedian from Watchmen. He plays Negan on Walking Dead.
Okay, that's why I'm confused.
Same guy. But no, I don't
guy.
know if they cast him. I would hope they did, because I love that actor.
I remember they casted someone that I recognized, but I completely forgot
Bruce
who it
Baxter
was.
From King Kong 2005.
Who's Bruce Baxter?
What? Who's Bruce Baxter? He's the action.
Oh,
hero guy.
the action hero guy. Okay, now I remember. Yeah.
He was in Super 8. They cast him.
Oh yeah, he was the father.
Yeah, they cast. He was the. Was he the father? He was the policeman. I know that. It's been
Who
a
was
long
also
time
the
since
father?
I've seen that movie.
Yeah, I saw it last year.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
They cast him. They cast the main character from The Conjuring. I don't know the actress's name.
Mm-hmm.
The only other one that I know is rumored is Ken Watanabe as Serizawa.
Now I remember. Okay, I was really off. It was Oshia Jackson, who Ice Cube's son. He was recently announced to be in the movie.
I heard that too. I heard it was
okay. No, Ice Cube. No. It was Ice Cube Jr. Man.
Was it really?
It's his son. Yeah, the son who
heard
played
that it was
his
him.
father. No. It was the son who played the father from Straight Outta Compton.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you could get him confused with the comedian from Watchmen, but okay.
I have no idea why I thought of him. Maybe I was thinking of Kyle. What's his name? Kyle Chandler, the guy who played from Super 8. Maybe I was thinking of him, and I don't know why I was thinking of. My mind was going toward the comedian for some reason. Maybe I subconsciously want the comedian to be in this movie.
It's great.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the cast list now. I don't know why. Why is Serizawa only rumored? He needs to be in the movie.
Right. Oh, there was another rumor that he was going to be the only returning character, and I say good thing because
I say
I'm not excited.
Accomplice as well, whatever her name was.
Yeah, sure. Because I wouldn't be excited to see any of those characters return for 20. They did their job
exactly.
Passably.
I liked Ford Brody. Yeah, he's
you almost couldn't finish that sentence.
I like Ford Brody. No, because I at first I was like, am I saying Cranston's characters? But he's Joe Brody.
Joe Brody, yeah. Joe Brody, I would love to see return. I don't care how.
He's a Force ghost.
Yes. No. They'll pull a $6 million man and turn him into Jet Jaguar.
Definitely. No, because Jet Jaguar's got to be played by Kong.
Oh yeah.
Cram him in the suit. So
or maybe we have two Bryan Cranston, so two Joes confirmed.
And is there a face in his tail or not? I don't think so.
Does he have a tail?
So he evolves every time he takes damage, which is why when he dies and they zip up his body bag, he evolves into his next form.
If only if you recorded this video before April Fool's, you would have turned all of this section into an April Fool's theory video.
Predictions for Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yes.
I think my channel... I honestly consider doing an April Fool's joke, and then I realize my channel... People are so quick to turn on me as it is because of the quote-unquote controversies around my Shin Godzilla whatever I say about that movie seems to get everyone really angry. So I don't know. I didn't do it.
Some men, Master D man, simply want to watch the world burn.
I think they want to watch me burn more than the world, but either way, some of them want to burn with me so that we can ascend to heaven together. So.
By the way, I sent you an image.
Okay.
Stu Bryant's confirmed.
Oh yes, definitely. That has to be. It's the only thing that's made sense since Godzilla Awakening, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
The most logical of all Monsterverse. I guess now that I got Facebook pulled up, I'll send you that image of that that logo from Monarch that has that serpent behind it.
Okay.
There it is. I think I sent the right one. Yeah, it is. It's got that. See, it's just got like a weird serpent behind it.
Oh, okay, you're right. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Godzilla vs. Kong, anything you got to say about that? Should be great.
Yep,
Really
I'm
hope
excited.
Right.
Well, we've had, a lack of giant monster movies for so many years that I feel like, in a way, I kind of feel like how Kevin Smith feels about superhero movies, where he doesn't care how many they get made or how overly bloated superhero movies might get. As a fan, he wants to see them all. That's kind of how I feel about giant monster movies as well. It's like, I don't care. I want give me more.
Yeah. I am all for the giant monster movies.
Bring on the mayhem.
So I guess, what do you rate Kong Skull Island?
I give it a solid 4 out of 5.
Oh, I thought you were doing out of 10 for a second. I was so confused. I thought you were going to say 4 out of 10. I was going to have to...
And I thought you watched my videos.
No, I told you. I made sure not to watch your reviews on this movie so that all your opinions...
No, but on my channel, I never do 10s.
That's true. See, all the
and
rating
you call
systems,
yourself a fan.
All the rating systems get mixed together, man. I can never... There's some people... Some of you guys do it out of 5. Some of you guys do it if it's based off better or worse than Ghostbusters 2. It's very confusing. I can't keep up.
All right, I'll make it clear to you. It's better than Ghostbusters 2.
All right, that's all I needed to know. Okay.
Yes.
I would rate it out of 10. I've been all over the place with
8 out of 10 would bang.
Between yes. Between 9 out of 10, I've been like at first the first day I saw, obviously, when I gave my reaction review, which is why it's a reaction, is because I haven't been able to formulate any opinions on it yet other than just first viewing. I gave it
was great.
I gave it like a 9.5 out of 10. I think after watching it 6 times, because I watched it again today, but not in the theaters. I think after watching it 6 times, I can officially say I give it a good 8.5 out of 10, because there are some problems with it that clearly we've talked about throughout this whole video. And
yeah,
but there's a lot they did right.
The big thing is like how much it bothers you personally,
yeah, exactly.
Subjectively, because everybody will react differently to other things. Some people have similar reactions, other people have different reactions.
Other people are just delusional and think that Godzilla's face has a tail from scene 1.
And some people think that there might be 3 Godzillas in the Heisei continuity.
There's one. They time travel and they create him.
No, we're not going into this.
That's exactly what happened.
No.
Yes.
No. It's time to stop. No more.
No, that's what happens.
No, you're crazy.
Yes. No.
Finish this review already.
Okay. So that's all I have to say, guys. You wanna plug everything you gotta plug?
Okay, let's see. So you can check out my channel, Kaiju Noir, Kaiju Noir. There I do a series of podcasts, interviews, and reviews of all kinds of mostly pertaining to monster movies, also any new theatrical movies I happen to catch at the cinema, or comic books, TV shows, animations, whatnot. I recently did a video celebrating my fifth year anniversary on YouTube, as well as my kind of sort of 1,000 subscriber special that I did, where I collaborated with both Braden Connor, who is my editor, and Crooked Lore Production, who was gracious enough to provide animations of my character for the video. Let's see, other recent projects, you can check out my podcast called Kaiju's Corner, where I talk to Deadpoolzilla or any of my other friends on various pop culture media related subjects. I have the Shoe Watch podcast, where you can check out where I do interviews with indie artists and writers to help them promote their upcoming projects. The last one focused on Denny Roth and Declan Burke on their webcomic series, Marshall Star. Let's see, I recently made reviews for season 1 of Voltron, as well as Kong Skull Island and the Power Rangers movie. The Power Rangers movie I did with Denny Roth, and I did the Kong Skull Island review with Matthew Denian, who will be the person I will interview for the next installment of the Shoe Watch podcast. Matthew Denian is the author behind such kaiju thriller novels such as Atomic Rex, Polar Yeti, Operation Rock, and Chimera Scourge of the Gods. Let's see, anything else before be on the lookout for my recent videos. Upcoming reviews, I guess my two biggest reviews I have planned will be for Rebirth of Mothra 2, as well as Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. Speaking of Gundam, you can also be sure to check out my past two Gundam-related videos. If you are a fan of giant robot anime, you can check out my History of Gundam video, which recently reached 20,000 views, making it by far my most popular video of all time on the channel. And as well as I also did a review for Season 1 of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. And I believe that is it. Oh yeah, finally, you can also check me out on Zazabar's channel, on the Sons of Sarazawa podcast, where it's kind of like this entire review, where we just kind of bullshit our way through a bunch of stuff and going from random topic to topic.
I think we were pretty solid from our transitions there.
I believe so.
I don't think there was even once when we even changed subject from Kong Skull Island.
Right, totally.
All right, guys, you guys all know me. I don't plug my information. I just leave it in a link down below. Thank you all for watching. D-Man out.
Until next time, everybody, take care.